a lot, Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you. Turn the fans back on.
Okay.
It's always a very short song. I like that song. Oh, there's the fan. We gotta block that.
We told him to put the fans back on.
Okay, so I'm unmuting everybody.
All participants are now unmuted.
Great show.
Hey, hey, hey.
All right.
Oh my gosh.
Yay. Well done, guys.
Great show. Excellent enthusiasm.
Wow.
I was going to ask you, why don't you call cold...
Bruce said bye-bye. Where the fuck you going, Brew? Get the hell back
I'm
in
still
here.
here. I'm still here,
All
Bob.
right. No, fuck with it.
Hey, I saw you last night, Bob.
You what?
I saw you last night.
Well, didn't you see me on Saturday, before Saturday, where someone brought that up?
I don't know. I think I showed up in JW's house. So I don't know where I was at.
Area 54, Brew.
No, I stay out of there.
No. Count on that. Anyways, I'm glad. How'd I look?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
You were glowing.
Glowing. Okay, we're gonna have to mute Scott because he got his fan going. Then when we want him to talk, we'll unmute. Okay. Yes, Susanna.
That was Madeline, I think. Somebody else.
Madeline, okay. I don't fucking know.
So after the mind fuckery I went through after last week's show, I mean, I wrote down a bunch of it on the chat, and you read it today. But you're starting to look in my mind. I mean, I've met you, and I've seen your photos, and I know what you look like, but you are starting to seem like some things that I have seen in my dreams. Now, in my... I don't know. You're getting weirder, Bob. Getting weirder.
I think that's just living water.
Living water.
It's the water effect, Madeline. I mean, Carolyn keeps saying this every day. Jesus Christ, you've changed. Yeah, Carolyn thinks I've changed a lot. And I'm
picking up on that. I'm picking up because you don't... When I imagine you now, you do not look anything like you did when I used to imagine you. It's like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, okay, that's even weirder. Whoa.
Whoa.
In what ways does Connie say that you look different? Or
okay,
you
first of all, did Madeline say I look cuter?
Weirder.
Weirder.
Glowing, Bob. No, it's in my little personal, I don't know, mythology or whatever you call it. It's a really cool. It's really. I guess it's a good thing.
Well, that makes sense.
I would not say
mutating.
But it's really cool.
All right. Well, becoming cool. Like, I actually went shopping today with Carolyn and JW and bought something for fuck's sake. I've never bought anything ever in my life. What the hell happened?
Oh my God.
What did you buy, Bob? What did you buy, Bob?
What did you buy?
What did you buy?
A wonderful, flashy suit jacket.
Ooh.
Wow. Something that Jack would wear. Everybody was saying,
what color, Bob?
Jack's gonna like this. They all thought Jack would love this jacket that I bought.
What color, Bob?
What kind?
Oh. What color?
What color?
Okay.
Gray, I bet.
The store was called The Men's Image or The Man's Image. So Google that. The Man's Image. And that's in this mall. Maybe that would show you what they have if they have a website.
The man or the men?
I don't know what it was.
Is it
Plural
cut
or
close to your
singular?
body? Does it have narrow lapels or wide? Or does it have a
It's bling
stand-up
all
collar?
over. Bling. It's bling all over.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Whoa.
Oh, it's an Ed Hardy outerwear.
That's something that Sarah would wear on to church.
Wouldn't let you
There's
buy
some story
that.
where it's church. Okay. Anyways, that's one thing. And then I did something else today. I can't remember. Like she pointed out about 3 things today, a couple things yesterday, a couple things before that. She just keeps pointing this shit out. I tell her, get the fuck out of me. It's fucking bullshit. I don't change.
How would going shopping be more ascending? That would be probably
Bob
the
doesn't
last
shop.
place in the world. Yeah, that would probably be the last place in the world I'd want to go.
I didn't get what you're saying.
Well, he went with them.
Yeah, what did this person, someone translate what that person mumbled?
Why would you want to go shopping, Bob? That seems like an unascended thing to do. You should have people do shopping for you.
We were just
you
walking
guys are
through.
assuming that the
J.W. and
the
Carolyn were
making you
shopping.
ascend.
J.W. and Carolyn were shopping. I was going along to get some exercise. And all of a sudden, I
And
bought
while you're
something.
there, you picked up.
I don't know why. I regret it. I regret
And
it.
to buy stuff, that's all.
And Bob, this person is Cora, and I would really like to talk to Ion sometime. I've been calling in every week.
Oh, Cora, you were on a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't.
Well,
is my
you got to
phone number not?
participate.
Huh?
You have to participate in this
I
session. You're doing it now, so you're building up points. Like,
Yes.
you know, like
Okay,
shopping
how many
club.
Flipping
Gotta get
points
points.
do I have to get to be able to ask Ion?
You don't get to cast them in. This is
2,014,698,000
Streets ahead of you on points here.
3942.
People do go weeks without
Thank
talking
you.
to Ion, Cora. You're not being
Yeah,
picked
Cora,
on.
there's nothing special about
Or
it.
years, even.
I pick
Yeah.
people according to their quality of their questions as they're performing. That's why Alyssa gets back on. That's why Scott gets back on. And whoever else I pick, and then there's always new people. If you didn't attract my attention, you're going to have to come up with some better questions, preferably not about yourself.
Man, I got questions, Bob, but I don't want
Shut Sarah. Holy
Well,
fuck, I
really
gotta mute
good.
Sarah. She even gets muted on fucking Tailgate, for fuck's sake.
Lordy.
At least she auditioned and made it into Michael's band. She's in Michael's band. She can put that on her coat.
Coast to coast.
Could you speak a little bit more, Cora, so I can see your number? Like,
Well,
or you?
yeah, it's the 775 number. I don't know if it's showing up.
Okay, 775.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, there it is at the very top. You know, last name is Miller. Yes, Reno,
Yeah.
Nevada. Okay.
I'm not in Reno, but yes.
Right. So I saw that and I said, oh, that's I don't like that name. That sounds like the McGuire sisters. That's mafia people. So I ignored it. Phyllis McGuire. It was a bad association you were a victim of. I now will erase that.
I don't go by Phyllis, so it's Cora.
Okay.
But my phone is Phyllis. That's just a legality. What can I do? What you gonna do?
It's like done by non-physical who gets on. I try not to be fair and I try not to be unfair. I just go with the instinct of who gets on. So you can get into a rut and not be on for a few weeks, but it doesn't matter. You should be learning from the other people's questions.
Oh,
Do not think you're isolated. Okay.
I am learning every week. It's great. I really am, and I will continue to call. And I'm not going to be able to talk about fricking McLuhan, but
no, you don't. You don't have to talk about anything I talk about. Really?
I just want to talk about what I want to talk about. I have things I want to.
Well, preferably not about yourself first. Build up your collateral. Build up that you're sort of interested in knowing something.
I do have some questions about myself, and I do need to ask Ian about them. But I have other questions.
I'll tell you the answer.
Every
question about yourself. Every answer to every question about yourself is the same answer. You figure it out. You decide. That's the same answer Ian gives every time.
Yeah, I know.
It's the truth. It's true.
I understand. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not. None of them are going to be asking what asking Ian what to do necessarily.
Hey, Scott tried to do it. Scott brought up his
Popcorn.
walking again. That's ridiculous. If I go walking and a bird starts singing to me, fuck
Sound
that
like
shit.
drumming in a band.
Jingle. What?
Yeah.
We run a tight ship here occasionally. You never know when the ship's going to go tight.
Is that living water changing you so that you have to
Okay, that's what they've just been talking about the last 10 minutes, for fuck's sake. How it's changing.
Good question, Alyssa.
Well, let me finish my question, Bob, for fuck's sake. Is it
hey, no swearing around here, you fucking asshole. No,
it's a family show, Bob. It's a family show, Bob.
You are not
alien show.
So
I'm a shy person and I don't stand for bullying, so there.
Well, okay, well you better go. And Louis, and do it quickly.
No.
Drum band in the back, Bob.
You're not going to go away. You can't. There's nowhere else to go, of course, and you have to put up with the concentration camp conditions we have here, because there's nowhere else for you to go.
Oh, there's that
and
word.
they're diabolical.
There's that word, concentration camp. Where have I heard
that
there
it is.
this week? Yes.
I worked with those fucking Nazis in World War II. I mean, my resume is pretty fucking dead. No wonder I had to clarify the difference between me and Lucifer. It was very close, very hard to tell the difference.
It's lockdown Bob Rule.
Bert, are you still awake?
Bob Rule.
Yes.
This could be the slackest.
5 a.m. in the morning.
Show up to perform it.
Yeah.
I'll be shopping.
So,
yeah,
Bob, hey Bob, there was some talk on the chat about there not being a show on the 8th or the 3rd or something. What's that about?
On the 3rd.
August.
Connie,
With Billy's.
With
Billy's is coming up.
Talking about JW's birthday, August 8th, and screwed it up. No, August 3rd and August 4th and August 6th. So 3rd and 6th, no show. No show.
My birthday on the 5th, Bob.
Why is that?
Your birthday's on the 5th?
None of your fucking business. I have to meet with the department of you-know-what and all kinds of crap I got to do.
Wait.
We're hardly even showing up for you guys anymore. We're locking down everything.
You're the vortex, Bob.
Done.
Yes.
You are the vortex.
We heard Ion clearly say that you don't want to talk to anybody anymore. That I guess there's some desperate people trying to reach you, to talk to you, and you need to talk to anybody. And now you're
that was a statement applying to the government, not you guys. Bob's sick of talking to the government. I've never seen such a waste of time the last 3 weeks with those guys. No, they're worse than you. They say, Bob, how do I get on the ground floor? How can I get the dross for free, Bob? What do I need to do? They're fucking ridiculous.
Oh, boy.
Who's saying that?
Can I just say...
The government. The government people. The government. G-U-B-B-E-R-M-I-N-T. The government.
Government.
Government officials.
Is Trump trying to get the drops for free?
No, you need to get a better microphone there. That didn't even register as a mumble.
Can you hear me?
Betty, you're very quiet.
Going to be available?
Bob. It's Madeline. So after I re-listened to last week's show, during the show, but then the last few days, my head has just been absolutely spinning. And what you said on chat today about how you're in the middle of it all, that's what I have been freaking out about. It's you've been saying it forever, but it's becoming more and more clear that that's the case. It's so weird. Bob, what the
Everybody's Illuminati, and we've been out front, totally visible. You can talk to the Illuminati anytime you want for the last 10 years.
What the
Alex Jones is crazy ignoring it.
You're just laughing. I told you. I know you've been telling us, but when you really listen to what Ion was saying in that last show on Saturday, pick it apart, write the sentences down, put them together, I'm like, holy fucking shit. What? This is
a family
freaky.
show, Maddie.
Right.
It's
Right.
the tailgate. It's the tailgate. Kids should be in bed.
Wrote down.
Listen to this, Madeline. I'm responding to your ideas. I didn't get much of the show because it was all, all fucked up by Carolyn and JW's phone.
Yeah, you were all fucked up.
To it the last 2 days. Now listen, and I realized the core point. They're projecting Hitler on Trump, and then I said, I came in and said, well, no anthropomorphic images apply to Trump. Then listening to the sentences you're talking about, Madeline, I realized this afternoon that there's a mixture of the tech body, the angels, non-physical, and whatever's left over from humans. The interplay, the very tactile interplay where they're shifting positions like ratios in chemistry, they're shifting around, and that's what Trump is. He's reflecting the interplay of all of them. So we have to get it out there.
Well,
nobody's describing Trump accurately.
No, he's like, the way I'm perceiving it, and you can clean this up. But what it feels like to me is like you're the fucking pterodactyl, and you are pulling the fucking strings, and he's dancing, and he doesn't know what he's doing. I used to think it was Ion pulling the strings, but you're pulling Ion strings, and I'm pulling the tech body strings, and the tech body's pulling Trump's strings. Well, Trump is like the 3D chemical body manifestation of this stuff, and you're on your own fucking bob plane, causing all of it.
Those spinning bodies are not waiting anymore.
Talking to JW the past 3 weeks, he, being with him in person, he tells me other things that he wouldn't say over the phone. And he's been keep telling me that, Bob, you're in fucking charge. Deal with it. He keeps telling me to deal with it. And he's reinforcing what you're saying.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you're not dealing with it, it's you're not dealing with it that is making it so perfect.
Well, I got a good one,
right.
Bob.
Like
so the bodies...
Greek historical figure who refused to be head of the Greek parliament in Athens when they wanted him to do it. He said, I'm just going to keep farming. That's a sort of a positive image. This guy, he didn't want the power or the authority.
Well, Bob, how's the UK's new Prime Minister, Boris Johnson? He looks like Trump's mirror image in the UK.
Oh my gosh, I thought the same thing, Nick.
How crazy is that?
A younger version of Trump.
Yeah.
The hair. Yeah, the same color hair.
Yes, Bob.
You wanted to say something. I heard you say Boris Johnson. Ian was signaling me that he wanted to say something to me, so he told me to mute. And then
is Boris Yeltsin the first Trump clone, Bob?
What?
Boris Johnson.
Boris Yeltsin the first Trump clone.
Listen to this. I don't know what you're talking about. Listen to this. So Ion said, if it's Ion still here, I don't know. Ion said Boris Trump will do Brexit within 3 months.
Wow.
While you were asking me.
Wow. Bob, you're everywhere. You are the vortex.
Nick was talking about the Boris guy who's in England who just became prime minister, and he looks like a younger version of Trump, and he does.
Yes, he is the first Trump clone. England has elected a Trump clone.
Yep.
Oh, that's Greg. Is that Greg?
Yeah. Yes, Bob.
Okay, you're the one
and he's completely off the wall.
I was trying to ask her, what were you saying when I told you shut up?
I didn't tell me to shut up.
Yep, that's Bob. Hey, shut up. What'd you say?
Boris being a clone, Bob.
So, Bob, does JW endorse Boris Johnson?
Who said Boris was a clone? 2 minutes ago.
Greg.
Yes, I did.
Greg was asking that.
It was Greg.
Yes.
Okay.
Boris Johnson is a Trump clone.
Okay.
Perfect.
Well, Trump is really not translatable. He's a projector of Trumpism the way he understands it, which is going to be all screwed up and not what we're talking about that Trump is. Boris doesn't know anything about the
Bob, the question is Boris Johnson on the drops?
That's revised.
That's above your pay grade.
It sure is, but it would be good to know.
Well, it doesn't mean it's a positive development. They're on the drops because they know that's the only thing there, and they're scared shitless. They're trying to keep up with me.
That's right. No, we know this,
so
Bob.
They're doing it out of fear.
Well, how about
most health advice is out of fear, Bob.
Most what?
Most health advice is out of fear.
Right.
Or vanity.
Well, how about what Ion said today to Allison about the tech body, that the Ascended are going to sift through it with remembrance and the tiny note chart?
I know, that's
My name's Alyssa.
As the Antichrist.
My name's Alyssa.
Hey, listen to Susanna. It just occurred to me. Ian may have said that to Alyssa because she's working in depth with the tiny note chart. So it might just apply to her.
So the body's spinning, Bob, waiting at the bottom of the chart. Could they maybe not be waiting anymore? Do you maybe need to say what happens now that they're
anymore. Yes,
right?
Not waiting anymore. Yeah.
So, they're doing the dance. They're spinning, or they've become to where they can dance or not.
All those that can identify with our wave are included. We're not waiting anymore.
Well, there's a dumb echo on my phone, so I'm going to mute myself. I don't know.
No, you're okay.
It's not.
No, you're good, Sarah. We can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't like it.
But Sarah is 10 times louder than Bob, which makes it hard to hear Bob, or I have to, it's awkward.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong.
There, is that better?
So,
that's better.
Very good, no problem, Sarah. So
Not
listen
really.
to the point. We're waiting. The guy who wrote the chart, me, waiting for organic bodies. That's me. We're not waiting.
Yeah, I know, Bob. That's what I'm telling you. You have to take responsibility for. Maybe is the fact that they're not waiting anymore.
Just
now
back
what?
off the mic. Just back way off your mic, Sarah, because
we're talking solipsism as the practical root of ascension.
Explain that, Bob. Solipsism.
Solipsism. You know what that is? That's living within your own hyper-subjectivity and acknowledging nothing else.
Oh, yes, of course. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the way I live now. I have to live. I'm in charge. There's nothing to be in charge of, yet I've got to fake it for myself between me and me.
Yeah.
And you bought a nice new jacket, Bob, at the Man Image.
Yes.
Right.
Man. M-A-N-apostrophe-S image or men. I don't know if it was an E or an A.
Is it purple? Is the color purple, Bob?
Yeah, it's close to it. Yeah. Not exactly purple. The other one.
Looking at some of them at the moment, and there's like an off purplish. Nice, Bob.
I got two jackets. I got one last
blue
week.
one and a purple one.
Well, that was forced on me. Actually, JW forced it on me. He bought it.
Thanks, Alyssa.
Bob, what do you think of Georgia?
What do I think of Georgia?
Yeah.
The tree, I was struck by the trees. We drive around in the highways, very tall green trees. I haven't seen those tall trees in a decade, being in Maui. So it's quite closed in. It's like you're going through tunnels almost. They're so high. So
where's this, Bob?
And it's too hot.
In Georgia.
Too muggy.
Georgia.
It's peach season.
Thanks, Susanna.
Yeah,
very humid there. Yeah, it's
what?
humid.
Too humid.
Very humid there.
And Maui's not humid.
Yeah.
How do you like the traffic?
It's ridiculous. We almost missed the show tonight because JW got caught in the traffic. And got caught other times in the traffic. So I don't drive. We only drive around locally. I don't go on the long distance drives.
I used to live there. It's one of the reasons I moved.
Who's that speaking? That sounds like Eben. But who is it?
No, it's Cora again. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're clear.
Yeah.
And you used to live in Atlanta, Georgia?
I did.
And the traffic drove you out?
It did.
Yeah.
It did. After the Olympics occurred, it became really clogged up.
Yeah, that's 23 years ago.
Yeah.
Hey, Bob, can I ask a question about Saturday's show? Jenny was talking to Ion, and it was about the moon landing, and you've talked a bit you posted about the Russians are in control of space, but Ion also talked about Johnson being in on the deal, that there wasn't really a landing. It was all a ruse because there's really no way to transmit
there
from
was
the moon.
a landing. The astronauts landed on the moon. You have to listen carefully. They landed. They just didn't get out.
They didn't step around on the moon.
They didn't step onto the moon. They stayed inside. And the video footage that everybody saw on TV was made, back on Earth somewhere, unless I said where. And that's the whole thing. 1 step for Susanna and 20 steps for Cora. It never was said, never happened.
But what Ion was talking about was that the whole purpose of that
was made in Area 51, Bob.
No,
okay.
What I want to talk about was if you could explain
What's the
further
purpose?
About the purpose of the whole moon program, the Apollo program, was to launder money or something about the M1 because it cost $1 billion, and that was like a huge amount of money.
You should notice, Susanna, that someone is talking. You talk, but you have to notice when someone starts talking back to you and stop. How come you can't hear me responding to you? Am I too low?
You're too low.
Okay. So anyways, yes, it was about balancing the M1, and I don't know if Ion explained the reasons or what the deal was, but the distraction of the moon program, I guess it was Gemini and Apollo, was geared to people not noticing what they were doing to the economy. I'm not an expert in what they did to the economy. I don't know what they did.
He
He
said they're trying to boost the economy.
Trying to what?
Boost the economy. They needed to boost the economy.
No, it was the gold standard. It was the gold standard aspect.
That's right.
No, the gold standard was already gone, wasn't it?
That's right.
Exactly. That's what they were doing, is to sustain it so it wouldn't come back.
Okay. If you heard that, then that's what it was. But you can ask Ian more about that. Ask particular questions, or get Mark Sweat to ask some particular questions, or whoever knows economics to talk about it.
Well, I'm also wondering, because it's making a whole lot of news now about this moon landing. There's just so much in the media about it. So I was wondering if there's another cover-up.
It's the 50th anniversary.
It's remembrance. The Android meme is trying to remember itself.
Yeah, and the creation of the video was, you could look at it as an entertainment value. The equipment couldn't be sustained to take the footage, but people needed to see that had happened. So the government found a creative way around that.
Yeah. And McLuhan wrote way back then, he said it was the biggest classroom experience ever. Millions of people sat there and were instructed about a new experience.
Yeah.
Did McLuhan know it was fake?
No, unless he did.
It was fake, but it was, I think it's important.
I understand. I know.
Yeah.
I heard.
McLuhan was a pretty interesting character. He had 3 families, parallel worlded all over the place. He knew things. You know what he did? It happened on his birthday, July 21st, and they had him at NASA, interviewed him of what it all meant, and all he said was, "This is totally ridiculous. This is a 19th century operation, nothing to do with the 20th century," and he put down the whole thing. Right there at NASA on TV, probably get it on video somewhere. He detached himself from the significance of it.
Wow.
That's pretty brave. You know, you got the emotion of multitude, and everybody's all pretending it's Christmas or something, and you come in and say, and puke on the turkey. You know, that's pretty bad. That's how brave he was.
Yeah, the moon landing wasn't as faked as much as it was translated or interpreted.
That's what I think. That's what I got from it.
It wasn't faked, it was translated or interpreted. Like if I went and had an ayahuasca experience and then I came and wrote a story about it and people read the story, that's not me faking it, that's just me interpreting it. And that's kind of what happened with them. That's the language. They created a language to speak about it that today we think is a fake.
Right. You mean, NASA, the government or whoever, they created a language. 100 people created a way to express the resolution of the issue of the paradox.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, when I look back, I've always been right in what I preferred. So the day the moon landing, now notice, I posted some memorabilia about Dartmouth and Binook Lake today, and something about Dartmouth, and I posted the kids that I MK Ultra, Alan, Dennis, Flaps, Steve, and Randy, and plus 2 women, Nancy and Sue, and I put in brackets Sue Bone. Anyways, I was explaining how I MK Ultra'd, and you could read the diaries, and just a minute, you can read the diaries, or I'm posting some points, and it's something to do with what we're just talking about. So on July 21st, I remember standing on the bottom of a hill in Dartmouth, and I was talking to these young guys, and they brought up the moon thing, and I expressed no interest in it. I wasn't aware or even cared that they were landing on the moon. I was probably one of the few people who doesn't remember where they were when the moon landing happened, because I didn't know they were landing on the moon. That's how indifferent. I now look back at my indifference because I knew on the non-physical, or quote the unconscious level, or the subliminal level, that it wasn't significant. So I find that more and more. Whatever I was doing was the right attitude.
Well, every family in America was glued to their TVs, so everyone was really duped about its significance at that point in time.
That's right. And I knew it wasn't
I was on an acid trip in Seattle, so I wasn't watching TV. I was watching Jim Morrison and the Doors, and
Scott,
it was a big.
Exactly what McLuhan said. Now listen, Scott. That's very appropriate because McLuhan said the outer trip, the 19th century, going to outside solar system places, was 19th century. The 20th century was the inner trip, and he said it's way more important if you're to study the inner trip, which is what Scott was doing with his LSD.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a rock festival outside of Seattle called Gold Creek, and it was insane. It was really crazy. I mean, there were all kinds of strange entities there, and Jim Morrison was a puppet on the stage, and I thought that I was pulling the strings of Jim Morrison, and I mean it was totally nuts.
You were being God.
Is it what?
Yeah.
What was the date? July 20th or 21st?
Well, I thought it was I missed it by a week. I thought it was the day that we landed on the moon, but actually Gold Creek was a week later. So I wasn't even aware of what had happened a week before on the moon landing, or just vaguely. Somehow I got it mixed up with it.
Scott, was there a light show at night?
At Gold Creek, sure, yeah.
Yes.
They had all that stuff.
You know who was doing, this is real significant, who was doing the light show? Bob Carr.
Bob Carr.
Really?
Bob
Who's
Carr,
that?
I was always talking about, because he ran he competed with the San Francisco light shows in 66, 67, 68, and he decided he couldn't keep up with it. So he moved back to Seattle, and he could dominate the light show world. He was pretty good at it. And then he ended up doing the first live light show broadcast on TV. But anyways, he was the guy doing all the concerts in 68, 69, 70 in Seattle. Bob Carr. You can read about it in his book.
Yeah, I noticed that the festival that they call Bumper Shoot sort of came out of the Gold Creek Festival, except that, and that's more or less modern. But the Gold Creek was before that thing they had in New York that they made the movie out of.
Woodstock.
Woodstock, yeah, it was before Woodstock.
Woodstock was August 15th or so, middle of August, a week after Manson. And now also, if Bob Carr was there, Dave Worcester was there. You were in the environment of what you're participating in now 50 years ago.
Yeah. I was just thinking that if I had a similar incident with a Jethro Tull concert about 10 years after that, in which I experienced the same kind of thing, where the firmament was calling me, through, and I was like puppeting Ian Anderson in the Jethro Tull concert. And I remember this lyric that he sang, "Just as we connected," and the lyric was it was after he sang "Skating Away." If you want to look at the lyrics to that, they're pretty profound. But he was singing a lyric which was, and I've tried to find it, I can't find it on the internet. Something about there was honey on her shoes, and that was the last line of the song, and I can't. They wrote about 300 songs, and I can't find the one that has that in the lyric. But
were they listed on the bill as Jethro Tull, or was it before they chose that name, do you think?
No, they were known as Jethro Tull at the time. This was in the mid-70s sometime.
Yeah, they were Jethro Tull in the late 60s into the mid-70s. Then they disappeared.
I'll find it.
But some of their lyrics are quite incredible. Especially the lyrics to...
Who's talking right now? I'm sorry, who's talking?
Of England on acid.
Oh, this is Scott. Yeah.
I was trying to remember.
Scott, you and me have to talk, because I do visuals too, and I have had the experience that you're talking about. It's phenomenal.
Well, we all have, Madeline. Any decent person who can't remember the 60s had the experience.
Yeah. But I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only one who ever had that.
Scott, last week I was trying to remember the musical scene that Gomelski was part of in the late 60s outside of London. I just remembered it, the Canterbury Sound.
Oh, and that brings up the Guru, Prempal.
Oh, he was part of that?
Well, they had a big festival there at Canterbury.
Oh, okay.
It was one of his earliest festivals.
Fripp and Fred Flip and those guys, those early progressive bands, late 60s, early 70s. Remember they did one album, the group that did Soft Machine, named after Burroughs' term. What was that?
Oh, and Pentangle, was that another one that was in that group?
Yeah. Now you can I'll look it up on Wikipedia. They'll give the groups. But Gomelski, the guy who created everything, he was part of that scene after he left Polygram, and he stopped doing the Yardbirds and the Stones. And
yeah, it was very occultish, Welsh, Celtic.
Aleister Crowley land.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
which I am. That's my heritage. So
What, Crowley is?
No, I'm Welsh. But my actual last name is Jones. That's my dad's last name. My mother's last name was Talkington, so I took my mother's last name, which is also it's not Celtic. It's more Viking, But
hey, Scott. Can you go into the Kantian solipsistic stuff you were mentioning on the chat?
Yeah.
Okay, before you do that, just so looking up the Canterbury scene, they do say Soft Machine and Caravan were part of it. And Robert Wyatt, Kevin Ayers, the David Allen Trio. So look it up on Wikipedia, the Canterbury music scene. And
I will.
See, what Crowley did to music.
Yeah, wasn't he wasn't the guy that was in what's that heavy metal, Led Zeppelin? Weren't they into Crowley too?
Robert Plant got into Crowley.
Yeah. Didn't they buy one of his houses or something and then record it?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, something like that.
Too blurry. What'd you say, Sarah?
Didn't they? I asked if Led Zeppelin, did they buy a piece of property that Crowley had
one of his
owned?
castles or something like that in England.
Okay,
his abbeys.
So this is a site. It's called Car Wreck de Bangs, Music, Madness, and Sundry Literary Devices. The title is Aleister Crowley, Jimmy Page, and the Curse of Led Zeppelin, when myth, magic, and weird facts collide. So they say the Curse of Led Zeppelin. People started to whisper about this in the late 70s. Nobody had any particular facts. But when Zeppelin drummer John Bonham died September 1980, things started to pick up. So is there anything to this so-called Led Zeppelin curse? Nonsense, right? Let's see. So it starts off saying, most of the curse talk is centered around the little understood late 19th century magician Aleister Crowley. I forgot to, Ian asked me to point out, I don't know where it is, maybe find it, that the tech body is the moon. Ian posted maybe on the chat line, the tech body is going to do a new trip through the moon. Let's see if I can find that.
Led Zeppelin was also at Gold Creek.
I said at 8:29 p.m., but I don't know what time that is in reality. Tech Body is rebranding the entire moon landing. So they're talking about someone who saw Susanna. Tech Body's rebranding the entire moon landing to introduce the next trip. Says Ion. Okay, so I finished talking. Somebody was saying something?
Well, the Led Zeppelin was also at Gold Creek, and I can't remember the whole bunch of bands there. I have a poster that lists them all out, and it's pretty incredible. All of the great bands from the 60s and stuff like that were there. Alyssa asked about Kant, and I was going to say, if you want to know what that's about, check out John Deely's book, The Four Ages of Understanding. He gets into, I mean, it's like an encyclopedic book, but he gets into the problems with Kantianism and how it completely misleads us when it's a consequence of the print era. So we had a shift from the way of signs, which was in the Middle Ages or in the medieval times, which comes out of Augustine and Aquinas and stuff like that, into what's called the way of ideas or modern idealism with Locke and Descartes and stuff like that. And the problem with the way of ideas is it leaves out the middle aspect of the sign, which is the representum or the thing that carries over the meaning, the metaphor that carries the meaning from the fundament to the firmament, to the interpretant. So we left out the middle, or just assumed that it would be there, and that's the concept of ideas that Kant was trying to resolve, and invented this whole notion of subjective and objective and all that bullshit that doesn't mean anything. I mean, it's virtually the opposite of what the true meaning of those terms is. And everybody is into that. Everybody was misled by Kant. So all you're left with.
That to solipsism, you were
because in Kant's concept of the Ding an sich, or the thing in itself, Ding an sich, is that we can't understand any reality outside of ourselves. So we make up reality within ourselves. We have no access to interpret anything from anybody else. So basically, you get into this cycle where anything you say is true, and you can't disprove any of it. And Bishop Berkeley is the one that demonstrated that you can say anything is God or anything is not God, and it has to be true because there's no way to disprove it, because there's no representative to carry over the significant, to transfer significance into the interpretant so that you can understand anything besides yourself.
The Ding an sich doesn't exist except in relation to, it's all relationships. There is no objects, only relationships.
The Ding an sich is an impossibility, is what Dealey says. It can't even exist within its own concept. It can't even conceptualize itself. It creates an impossible dilemma that has been with us for the last 500 years. Dealey said the way out of that is the way of the sign, which is what they understood and resolved for virtually 1,200 years, from the time of Augustine to the time of John Poinsett in the Iberian Peninsula around 1636, which is when he wrote the Tractus de Signis, which resolved all the problems of the sign. And then as soon as all the problems of the way of the sign were resolved, we immediately forgot everything. We developed amnesia, and we completely forgot everything that they had resolved through the Middle Ages and through the medieval period. And everyone adopted Descartes, Cartesianism created the dysfunction between empiricism and rationalism. And that's what Kant was attempting to resolve, but he completely failed. And so we've been in this failed sort of illusion ever since then, in terms of like the what we mean when we say the subjective and the objective and all that kind of stuff. It's all screwed up and contorted and everything. So that's what Dealey proved, and then Dealey passed away about a year ago, so he probably doesn't mean anything to Ion either. But
Did you hear the recording Bob played where they're talking about the fact that pi is now balanced or become complete, and how that related to the Descartes Cartesian and the Newtonian, like all that kind of stuff as it relates to geometry and math and
I did hear that. I haven't transcribed it yet. I sort of go through and transcribe stuff, so I understand it the second time around. But that makes a lot of sense because the middle was omitted. So you have this kind of infinite regress which can't ever resolve itself. And basically what he's saying is that we've either returned to the way of signs or perfected what Dealey called the action of signs, which is more than the definition. Poinsett provided the definition, but we've since moved into what's called the action of signs, which is we have the capacity to follow the logic back to the definition if we want to, or we can just take off from there and begin to act, and the action through signs is what basically what real postmodernism is, not the postmodernism of Derrida and Saussure and those people, but the postmodernism of people like Charles Sanders Peirce and people like that sort of retrieved the understanding of the Middle Ages and then tried to shake people up enough so that they recognize that we're into this, we don't have to deal with Descartes and Kant anymore. Anyway, that's sort of my 2 cents. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Y'all looking at the chat?
What did
what?
you, hey, Natty.
Hi.
Firmament is people. Nothing exists except really.
Yeah, the firmament is the audience. And the fundament, yeah.
Well, I don't know, firmament, it's reflection. It's solipsism.
No, the firmament is the interpretant. That was Peirce's.
No, it's your reflection.
Yeah, it's me and me. I mean, it's not quite me, but it gives a sort of jumping off point. It gives a jumping off point for the interpretation of the experiences that I have, or the resonant interval. The resonant interval is again the representamen. That's what Peirce was trying to get at, I think. It may be somewhat different, but it's more or less sort of the same thing. So
it's like an eye, like everything is an eye, and the lens, it's all reflecting, it's you reflected back at you, and the distance between you and you, it's like, oh shit, it's all you though. It's solipsism.
Let me clear this up, Madeline.
Thank you, do it, Bob.
Let me retrieve us from Scott's rabbit hole. Now, this is where McClune comes in, because Scott is doing a good inventory of changes in concepts. But what's the media ground? So I'm going to just mute all noise. So I'll mute Scott for a minute. I want you to get this. So McClune had what he called 3 Copernican revolutions. The first Copernican revolution was Copernicus himself, 1450, and he threw man's image of himself to the edges of the universe. So the Earth, the Catholic vision of a geocentric world didn't apply anymore. So Copernicus was a product of the new emphasis on the horizon, or what McClune called visual space. So just as people started traveling over the flat Earth, because they thought there was somewhere to arrive at, that's the Columbus enterprise. At the same time, in astronomy, Copernicus came up with the idea that Earth was at the fringes of the universe, and we were nowhere compared to whatever the center was. And so they said the center was the sun. So that's the first Copernican revolution. Then McLuhan, very originality, says, after in the 40s saying all Americans are Kantian, so you'd have to go back and see what he meant by that. But that's just what he said in the 40s. By the 60s, he said the second Copernican revolution came in with Kant. And Kant moved it out of the first Copernican's visual space things and got into acoustic space, or retrieving the making of subjectivity that all oral pre-literate people have. The matching impulse of the Copernican, Galilean, Newton, and Descartes world, matching each other's inputs caused by the printed press, it was going to collapse with the telegraph, like say 50 years after Kant. So Kant, as a prophet of Western culture, he predicted the change in sensibility which the Romantics took over. McLuhan saw eventually that all the Romantic poets were trying to escape the Newtonian prison of visual space, or the first Copernican revolution. So the second Copernican revolution is Kantian subjectivity, or starting to notice that science and regular visual space doesn't contain everything, so therefore we don't know, and it becomes maybe what you're calling solipsism or hypersubjectivity. And so he's grounding that in material conditions of the media of the day. He was picking up on the flip from visual printed space, the first Copernican revolution, into the second revolution that the electric telegraph was coming. Then there's the third Copernican revolution, which is, McLuhan says, pattern recognition. That means you're not locked into visual space, you're not locked into acoustic space, you're in the interval, as Scott was saying, but you recognize that the environment has been externalized, the environment has externalized the resonant interval, or tactility. So pattern recognition was brought in by the vorticists. Wyndham Lewis has...
Bob.
No,
Are you still there?
So
Ezra Pound.
And you, don't you say anything, Sarah. So the point is, the vorticists, Lewis, Pound, Eliot, a little bit of Yeats, and Joyce, they're the guys, as artists, broke into the third Copernican revolution of pattern recognition, where objects are unobservable, only relationships between objects are observable. And it's probably even more than that. It's figure ground, looking at why art changes with Picasso, and then Wyndham Lewis looks around and says, oh, that's because of movies. Movies caused that. So the new archetypes of the collective unconscious expressed by media was the third Copernican revolution. The more you understand that, you will not get lost in arguing over retrieving medieval acoustic space or retrieving Descartesian rationality and dialectics. It helps you to move and prepare for iondom, because ion is a new technology, a new medium that's changing and making all that stuff irrelevant. All cultures are irrelevant. And it's because we technologically are already living in heaven, now called the tech body, and you have to figure out what your essence is in relation to that. So, that profound statement, I rest, and I'll unmute Madeline.
You got to do the angel movements to find that's why I'm saying you got to find yourself.
No, that's bullshit. You're not.
No.
You don't try to find yourself. That's Kantian.
Well,
it was Kant who came up with the term the second Copernican revolution. Kant called himself.
Say that again. I missed the word. What did he come up with?
Kant is the one who claimed to be part of the second Copernican revolution, or claimed that for himself. It was Kant. The third Copernican revolution.
Did he use those words?
Yeah.
Did he use those words?
Yeah, according to Dealey, he did.
Okay, so what did he mean by that? What was the second Copernican revolution?
Well, it was this shifting from. Well, I don't know what he meant.
The absolutism of science, and he
yeah,
brought in not knowing
empiricism and
acoustic beatnik stuff.
The concept was that ideas signify themselves. They don't require a sign in order to have significance.
Well, what requires signs?
Everything requires a sign. The subject requires a sign. The object is something that is made up about the subject and requires it. And the object is created by the capacity to create signs. So humans have the capacity to not only create signs, but to understand that we use signs, which is the key to creating and understanding that we have an object world. And
right. So
objects.
So Scott, hold it, Scott. So
okay.
McLuhan says that different cultures have different sign systems, and you can figure out the bias or ratios of their sign system by looking at the media they use. That's the ground.
Because it's the lens through which they see the world, and the lens is a negotiated lens between themselves and their families and their institutions and all of that stuff, which is all what the Greeks called it means a reality that comes from ideas, not ens real, but ens intellectus. I think that's the term. Yeah.
It's way more important to understand McLuhan's breakthrough that the medium of the society's signs the medium they use to communicate these relationships between their family and culture and all that, what you're calling the signs, determines the ratios of the type of sign. That's way more important. That's post-anthropology.
Well, that is important, and it's also something that Dealey completely doesn't get.
Yeah, nobody gets it. Nobody gets the bigger ground thing that McClure was talking about. Nobody gets it.
Dealey talks about this.
But Ion gets
go
it,
ahead.
And Ion has a way to talk past it or to bring in something that no one remembered to make it not so significant, this media ecology. That's what we're doing here.
It's changing the significant by essentially reversing it or doing a flip.
Yeah, Ion's a flip. That's why I call it paramedia ecology. So that evokes the cliche of para phenomena, paranormal. But it's paramedia ecology is what Ion and Bob have brought in, with no help from Connie.
The interpretant becomes the significant. The interpretant becomes the significant, which is the fundament of the sign, and the significant becomes the interpretant, which is the firmament. So they switch places around.
Yeah, that's the change. You're citing nominalistically nouns, and so that's the figures, the content. But it's more important to know how the printing press got people obsessed with infinity, visual infinity over the horizon, and all the way applied to different older media. And then the electric age flips into life is a prison. You're inside what most people understand as acoustic space, or what Zappa had on his 1967 album Lumpy Gravy. Drums are difficult to stay inside of. We were inside the tribal drum was the content Zappa was playing with. Zappa was tactile. So McLuhan was satirizing the tribal drum, the acoustic prison, and tactility was the means conceptually and perceptually to get out of the cul-de-sac that the existentialist prisoners got caught in.
One of the questions I was going to ask Ion and somebody else.
And that didn't work, and Ion came in to sort of provide, quote, a solution. Okay, what were we going to say?
Well, one of the questions I was going to ask Ion, which the statement you just made reminded me of, is he talks about humans being a combination of salt and light, and I was wondering about the proportions. It's like how much light seems to be sort of minimal compared to everything else that humans are about, including the covers and all that stuff. I mean, we manipulate the covers so that we don't have to look directly at anything and stuff like that. But
I was definitely ask that question.
Yeah.
Next time. I have a bunch of things to say, but I think that Ion's definition of light and salt are not what we think they are. When Ion said that frequencies are angles of numbers, that might be a clue of what light is.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
We don't. When I think of frequency and the way that Buckminster Fuller describes it and the way that engineers describe it, it's not. Frequency is a subdivision of length, not angle. So that and angle is much more fundamental than length. And you can discern an angle to a much greater degree than you can a length. I mean, just notice that when you take your two fingers and you pinch something.
L-E-N-G-T-H?
Yeah, L-E-N-G-T-H, length, yeah. So you can tell the difference between 1/1000th of an inch and 1/10,000th of an inch because you can sense the angle between your pointer finger and your thumb because of the opposable thumb has a fundamental angular sensitivity that is much greater than our visual sensitivity of distance.
Well, that's all fine and dandy. I'm only interested in what Ion says to that.
Ion put Ezra Pound on the chat, Bob.
What?
Ion put Ezra Pound on the chat 3 minutes ago.
And I see, so what's that about?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Ion, what is Ezra Pound about?
Tech Buddy is rebent.
Dave posted.
Is Neufeld there?
Ezra Pound. Yeah, okay.
I don't see Neufeld on the phone, so maybe he typed something.
I don't know anything about Pound, so maybe somebody else does.
Yeah, you have to know about Pound. Look, you can get a good chunk of Pound by reading Lyndon LaRouche. Yeah. Like, McLuhan redoes Wyndham Lewis. LaRouche redoes Ezra Pound. This is on my chart. William Aaron Thompson redoes T.S. Eliot. And Alex Croker redoes W.B. Yeats. And I redo James Joyce. That's how it's laid out on the chart.
Hey, Bob, you know the loop?
Madeline, you're not muted, Madeline. You're not muted. I'll even refresh my thing to double check that. Let's see, are you muted? Waiting for it to come up.
Hey, Bob, the loop that you're talking about.
On the refreshing, you are muted. Sorry, Madeline, I didn't notice that, so you're unmuted.
Thank you, Bob.
All right, so someone was starting to say something.
Yeah, the loop that you're talking about that Ion gets us out of, that kind of infinity book era aspect of continuance.
And Ion also gets you outside of the acoustic prison of eternity. Gets you out of that too.
Yeah. Would you quantify that loop as the Thompson quadrant?
No, the loop is the Dobbs quadrant. That's the Mobius strip. That's the image in the Dobbs quadrant. Mobius strip. Oh, just a minute. Ion's saying something. I got to mute.
The Mobius strip is a cross section.
Is the upside down of anything. Thompson is the upside down.
Right, the inverse. The verse has to have an inverse.
Elliot, that's paradox. That's Kantian, maybe second Copernican revolution.
The Mobius is a cross section of a donut, basically of a torus. That's all it is. Yeah.
Yep, you'll see torus on my chart under Bob. The Dobbs quadrant.
Is the torus the wire whisk?
Yeah, that'd be part of it. I think the wire whisk shows more than the torus. The loop-de-loop. The loop-de-loop is maybe a visualization of tactility.
Maddie says, Connie gives us the salt to withstand Bob's media ecology.
Who says that, Alyssa?
Madeline.
He says, let's see, it's further down.
Right under Ezra Pound. Right under Ion's post, Ezra Pound.
Connie gives us the salt to withstand Bob's media ecology. Well, see, I do paramedia ecology. I don't do media ecology. That's why the McLuhanites don't like me. They suspect I'm a triple agent or something, and they're right.
Well, this all started, Bob, because you said solipsism is
acoustic space. Natives are very, oral people are very good at understanding the huge realm of non-matchability in between people's subjectivity. They respect everybody. Yeah. There's no visual hierarchy in oral societies. Everybody has a right to be themselves. Even homosexuals in their tribes are accepted.
That's why my name is Talkington.
Wait a second. You said solipsism as the practical route of ascension. You remember making that point?
Yes, it's a part of the ascending process is going through each sensory space. You've got to understand visual space. That means reading books, and then reading McLuhan and Joyce on the ground of books, and then doing music in acoustic space. You got to go through the ear. I posted a McLuhan letter today. He said, tactility is the space of the interval. Sight is the space of the connection. Hearing is the space of the sphere. I think that's all he said. Tactility, sight, and sound. He was saying to the famous critic George Steiner. You'll see it on the McLuhan blog. But so you got to explore kinetic space. That's dancing and the OA movements. You got to explore osmic smell. You got to explore sight and sound, and then you got to explore tactility. Then you have to explore the technological extensions of them that led to the tech body.
Proprioceptive?
That's why you study Bob's chart.
Proprioception, that's good. Yeah.
I've been reading about...
That's straight off the chart. Like, that was the next thing that Bob could have said.
Yes.
I've been reading about how MK Ultra uses all of that stuff, and smell being surprisingly significant. But then when you think about it, it's not surprising. But yeah, they use.
Hey, Madeline, MK Ultra collapsed. I'll just mute you to say this, or you'll mute yourself.
I muted myself.
Yeah, good. MK Ultra collapsed in the 60s. You can see one of the famous CIA directors, I forget his name, in the 70s. He might have been the guy who got killed around 1990 in the canoe. Okay, MK Ultra failed because it didn't work. And way back there, maybe on the album of Bob Musicology, at least in the 80s, I explained why it didn't work. The Big Brother, visually based hierarchy with a bit of kinesis, that's Nazi totalitarianism, they retreated into electric space. So they said, we have to control information. And they had a literate bias. They wanted to control how people interpreted messages. And they had a literary bias where they thought, okay, everybody's got to get on the same page and think the same thing. And then they thought with LSD and the drugs that they could condition people to either reveal their matchable ideas, their visual belief systems, or change them to have other belief systems. By the 60s, because Rai, the original Satanist, was returning to the plane of essence, and there was no more visual space bureaucratic controls possible, and then that was symbolized by the population doing LSD for their own hedonistic reasons, nobody could determine what meanings in a culture would dominate. So every culture became a candidate for value generation. So the young people went into third world cultures, and their parents went into Europe or something. The point is, everybody's running around old cultural garbage dumps looking for a way to have a matchable community, and it never worked. So the MK Ultra guys said, we don't need to control people's matching belief systems. We just need to make TV more ridiculous and just keep the electric vortex going, and we can hide inside. That's what McLuhan means when Big Brother went inside. We will hide inside. We will not believe in any concepts. We're only here for our own comfort, and everybody else is running around politically trying to develop ideas from feminism to animism as movements that everybody would match with and reject visual Cartesianism and get into the new age.
Whoa!
Yes, that does deserve a whoa. Very good, Madeline. What I'm saying deserves a whoa.
Yeah, I unmuted just to say that.
Oh, good. Yes, but you get the point.
Yes.
McLuhan even said this in the late 60s. He said the elites, who were really pissed off at TV's effect in the 50s, and they even shot Kennedy because Kennedy was hijacking the media vortex, and the surface spume of TV imagery, Big Brother couldn't enter and control. So by default, Kennedy became the center charismatic image, so everybody thought he was in charge, so they had to get rid of him. And,
visually.
And then, literally. And then in the late...
And 60s, visually, though.
Yes, visually. Yeah, get rid of him so he's not on the... Okay, so then color TV came in, and McLuhan said by the late 60s, early 70s, the elites, whoever they were, the pattern recognizers, the tetrad managers, realized that television was a bigger MK Ultra than any psychological brainwashing program. So they flipped and accepted the TB effect and then just allowed massive consumerism. So they couldn't control people conceptually. They couldn't control their own children. They couldn't control people. They only maintained power for the hedonistic pleasure of having the comfort of a jet set level of life.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Which kept people from taking their power.
Right.
Holy shit.
So that peaks with the tech body, the ultimate expression of people putting power after the Ark of the Covenant in a new version of the Ark of the Covenant.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
If you read Zixin Liu's, what is it, the three-body problem, and especially the Dark Forest, which is, I think, the second book in the series, the dilemma that they... Zixin Liu, Cixin, second name L. Oh, you haven't read the three-body problem?
No, I know about it, but I haven't read him on it or her.
Yeah, it's a classic science fiction by this Chinese writer who is an engineer, who people in China refer to as Big Lou, and in his series it centers around this idea that an alien race has decided that it's going to take over the Earth because its own planet is unmanageable. It can't manage it because it has 3 suns, and the 3 suns create so much unpredictability that they can't relax. So they want to take over the Earth because it gives them slack, and so they invent this technology that not only keeps humans from advancing technologically, but gives them the capacity of knowing and understanding all human thoughts and communication that's conscious. And so the challenge for humans is to somehow trick this alien power that knows all of its conscious thoughts and all of its communicated ideas and stuff. And so they have an election. They elect 5 people to come up with the solution, and 4 of them failed, and the 4th one succeeds. But I can't remember the plot from then on. But it's a fascinating plot if from the point of view of some of the kinds of things that we're discussing about the tech body and stuff.
Yeah, because the glass bead game by Hermann Hesse, this idea of encyclopedically playing with images and concepts is the final gasp of a visually biased person, the book person. He becomes encyclopedic, but the increasing Android meme and then finally the tech body outdo rapidity-wise and every other overload that any humans can control or benefit from controlling it. See, that's where these novels, all of them, all the science fiction doesn't get that point, and so they fail, and they fall back into, ABC, absent-mindedness. But Joyce got it by presenting a book that was nothing but information overload and maintains that information overload no matter how familiar you become with it. That is the tech body.
Yeah, but it's not that. It's not as entertaining as reading Zixin Liu.
No, people like Peter Lambeau Wilson say humans love stories. They must have a narrative, and from myth to today's TV shows have story. You've got to get over the story impulse, and you do that by starting to analyze syllables and individual letters and grunts, as you do in Finnegan's Wake, and then you might get into ESP. That's how you bypass the need for a story. Shit. Isn't that incredible, Madeline? Getting it.
Well, it is. It is. Because it goes back to the Greek, not the Greek, but the gods who were syllables.
Yeah. Holy
I want to ask Ion a lot of, do you know, Bob, why Ion wants to do the Egyptian Book of the Dead?
Because it's badness. and it's awesome, and everybody needs to fucking look at it.
No, come on, shut up. Have you talked about it with them?
No.
So he can resurrect
Osiris? But see, Bob, I think the pantheon is universal. Like every culture has their pantheon of gods, but when you look at all of them, their stories are identical. The Roman gods, the Greek gods, the Egyptian gods, the Hindu gods, they all have. I do
remember Ion saying years ago that the Greek gods were the ascended.
Well, this is what I want to get into questioning Ion about this, because someone just asked him the other day, like last week, are the Egyptian gods real? And Ion said yes. And now the Q people are starting to really probe the god stuff. And I'm like, okay, so they're all the same. There is actually one pantheon. They seem to be ascended people, and everyone met them. Everyone did, everywhere in the world. But they're all the same. They just go by different names depending on the continents where the people interacted with them or are still interacting with them.
Yeah, and the reason they're all the same, Madeline, this is my speculation, they're all the same because the ascension path is the same archetypal pattern that's in the Book of Revelation, getting your throne and the elders.
Yeah, this is what I'm... Yeah, so I think this Egyptian Book of the Dead thing is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, but
the real genetic code or the ascension code.
There's some shit in there.
It's not a good thing to forget that it's not really called that. It's called the Book of Going Forth by Day, and that's a big distinction because we're talking about gods that we're conjuring or calling, if you want to get into this. It's not somebody that died that can come back because they're that powerful necessarily. This book tells how they can come to our light of day.
They're real.
But not,
they are
it
now. And they fuck with you if you're little, and they're you if you're God.
Yes, sir. The meaning of going forth to the light or the overcoming death would have the same meaning. Different words for the same pattern.
Yeah, but the difference of this book, sure, it is the different, exactly, but the difference of this book that you're talking about is that it's written as a guide plan for people, or like for these gods coming back, whatever you want to call them. But there's not other books like that. The other ones tell people what can be useful to them when they're just here. This is to maybe, I don't know, help them remember who they were.
Well, you don't know. You just have to ask Ian all these questions.
Well, I'm sure I will.
You'll learn something, Sarah. Ask Ion and get the answer, and then stick with it. Instead of trying to speculate other bullshit paintings and sketches.
Oh, I've never tried to speculate anything about it. I'm just the first question I've ever had. That's the first question I've ever had.
Okay, so here's what Joyce did. He has all the religions, all the esoteric texts, Infinite's Wake. So he looks at that title, Going Forth by Day, and he says, oh, that's book. The book is an extension of visual light. So the light people are conflicting with the oral dark people. See, going forth by night.
Right. I do see what... Book. Yeah, and I'm listening to the 23rd chapter of Revelations right now, too, so I have, like, these parallel things I'm comparing what we're saying with, and it's really interesting, because I'm learning, like, what Ion says are the different archangels' jobs, and it's interesting.
If you write out some questions from that for Ion, maybe you'll get to ask Ion some questions.
I might just
you're not even
keep listening for a bit.
You're just vaguely wandering in your own Kantian.
No, I don't want to ask Ion stuff.
By wanting to be a musician with Michael.
Okay, Bob. So I don't want to ask Ion things that just anybody will get the information to. I don't think I'm special and should get the information alone, but I don't want. I'm not discluding you, Madeline. I mean, Jesus. I'm saying.
These are silly objections to yourself. You're arguing for your limitations. You know, don't have any statements about what the effect of it would be on anybody. Just do it. Ask the questions. That's what we want people to do.
It's not like I'm taking offense. It's just that it's weird to try to ask a question that only pertains to you, because I don't think you can, no matter how hard you try.
Okay, so Scott and I and Madeline are talking, and now Sarah, let's have someone else talk. Allison, lead the fucking
Well,
topic.
hang on, Bob. Do you know what the little book is?
Yeah, it's my tiny note chart.
My name's Alyssa.
It is your tiny note chart. Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's in Revelation.
Yeah, okay.
And what is somebody just yelled out? Who was that?
I said, my name's Alyssa.
Yeah, okay. Well, why'd that come up? Did I insult you?
Because you wanted to talk to Allison.
Oh, no, Allison, I'm saying other people. Like, you know, Jack and Jermaine don't stay here.
Because Allison is working. Come on, Allison.
Yeah. The OA.
Stop working, you asshole. Allison from Seattle.
Stop revaginating your vaginal
stop
area.
Masturbating, Allison, and come in here and pontificate.
She's too blissed out. She's blissed out.
Too vag. Too re-vag.
And then there's Gene probably has something to say, and then there's Leon and
let Gene in then. Oh, Leon. Dude, let him open the mic.
All mics are open, but I'll refresh. Maybe it's caught up on me, and everybody's unmuted. Gene especially.
Are you sure I'm unmuted?
No, not sure.
I hear you, Gene.
I'm really just basking and listening, and I'm really enjoying the conversation. I'm enjoying not talking for once. Bob, isn't that something?
No, that's not something. That's not useful to us.
Okay.
No, Gene, you failed again.
Jeez, Bob. This just occurred to me that the salt light ratio that was talked about is the same as the cloud by day, fire by night thing that happened with Moses. That the light is the fire by night, and the cloud is the salt, where the information is stored. It's stored in a crystal.
No, that's a good pattern, and Nine has done a lot on the cloud by day and the fire by night. They did that at the beginning 10 years ago. Yeah, so that's a good take on that. Salt and light. Very good. But it didn't get a woo from Madeline, so it wasn't that great, Scott.
Okay.
No, I got sucked into the chat, like correcting never mind. Damn chat. What did you guys say? Because I would like to hear what that was about salt and light.
Oh no, it's good. The cloud by day and the fire by night. Scott's saying fire by night is light, and cloud by day is salt.
Yeah,
Okay.
At my house we did Passover, and we did the Omer, and we did the extra Passover and all this stuff, and I really learned a lot. They even said, like, my Chabad little celebration messages, they even used the words, the medium was the message at Sinai. I thought this is great. No, this was Chabad, the Jewish Cultural Center. I get, like, emails. And so for Passover recently, and then there's Between the Barley harvest and the wheat harvest. There's an omer you do each day for the barley harvest. And then at the end of that, there's this huge marriage supper of the Lamb, and the announcement and the Ten Commandments, and the announcement was the greeting from the center was the medium was the message at Sinai.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that great? I think that's great.
Well, what's interesting, it shows you how McLuhan, sprinkled all over the place.
Yes, and how his soul was Hebrew.
But the
Bob,
they don't
what is
apply it though. They're Jews. They're alphabetic. They're absent-minded. They're abstract. That's why they want to have a country and a geography in this late period, and so they don't recognize the figure-ground relationships of material causality of media. That's just an idea to them. The medium is the light. That just has some semantic, speculative theology.
The medium is the message.
Yeah, the medium is the message that they're using that as an
and they were talking about the
idea.
cloud and the fire.
That's what people didn't understand. McLuhan kept saying, "I don't offer concepts. I offer percepts." He's trying to get people to not sort of enjoy or prove his idea that the medium was the message. He says it's a fact. It's like the weather, and we control the weather, control the media, and that's what he's trying to get people to do. And they never got it, because they stayed within concepts, being literate people. They conceptually interpreted McLuhan. He kept saying, I'm perceptual, not conceptual. Perceptual was perceiving the weather. Like it's like fat and community. It's a nice day today. McLuhan, they said, what's the answer? And he goes, it's a very nice day today.
Hey, Bob. This is a tangent, but what is the archetype of the book?
The assembly line. Really, the printed book was the first assembly line.
I was not expecting that.
I know, but it's one of the most basic things McLuhan teaches. All assembly lines of all the different industries of the last 300 years were a repeat of the original Gutenberg assembly line, where you made an object and then repeated it, like a Ford car assembly.
Right, yeah. I mean, now that you say it, it all comes back, absolutely. Okay, so what is the archetype of a blank book, a book with blank pages?
That's going to be tactility. But they should be painted black, the pages, but if they're white...
They were white, yeah.
Okay, so that's the absence of color. What is white? The black...
White's all the colors.
Yes.
This is debatable.
Nationalism, globalism, the
It depends on whether you're talking about light or you're talking about pigment.
Pigment, yeah.
Correct.
No, listen to this. The archetype of the blank page is globalism, universalism, a projection that all cultures are within the superior environmental effect of the alphabet and the printing press.
And this white book, well, it was a book open, and all the pages are blank and white on top of a hill. So,
what are you talking about, Madeline?
Show that the book is a significant medium, and that the effect of the book is more important than any words that would be printed in black.
Ah, very good. Thank you.
Where did you get that image, Madeline?
I don't know. My being.
Okay, I didn't know. I just was curious.
There are art books. People, actually, Nova Scotia College of Art and Design in the 70s under Dennis Young made all kinds of art books. They get Michael Snow and all these artists to make these odd books. It was book as art form. And a lot of them would have blankness in them. So it's treating the form of the book as an art form. So it's approaching the appreciation of the book as the extension of the alphabet and the visual bias, and creates visual space. But because they didn't understand their McLuhan, they would make conceptual, imagistic versions of that and weren't purists. If they were purists, they'd say, well, we don't need to make these books. McLuhan explained it, and that effect that McLuhan explains is the most important thing to understand about the book era.
So honestly, for me, it was an ayahuasca vision, and it.
Hey, let's see if Scott was adding to what we were saying.
I heard you though, Madeline.
What was Fuller's book, I Think I Am a Verb, was that produced at the same time as, around the same time as McLuhan's book about, that had the medium is the massage?
Yes.
Because they have a similar kind of theme.
Quentin Fiore and Jerome Agel made The Medium is a Massage in early '67, and then a year later, they made a second McLuhan book called War and Peace in the Global Village. Those are the two wonderful designer paperbacks. And then right after War and Peace in the Global Village, or the same time, they made I Seem to Be a Verb with Bucky Fuller.
Okay. Because the idea was you take Fuller's book. I used to have a copy of it, but I no longer have it. But
I got it right here.
you read it from the front to the middle, turn it upside down, open the page, and then read it from the back to the middle again.
Yeah.
That was the basic
and a
idea.
quote by Zappa in there. Zappa said, all scientific workers are technopawns. No, he said, they're like all industrial jobs are technopawns of science. It was interesting that Bucky Fuller liked the Zappa quote.
Yeah. I think, Bob, the way that you did your book with the, I think that's an example, but it makes sense. It's not like it's not so much, I guess, artistic
it can be considered
Mm-hmm.
noise.
liberty.
I've got LaRouche and Croker on the left side, and I've got McLuhan and Thompson on the right side, and then my fifth thing, I'm the fifth, I swallow both sides of the book. So I'm the electric environment that swallows the literary McLuhan, LaRouche, Thompson, and Croker, but you're supposed to read them back and forth. I tried to place similar ideas in any of them beside each other, so it's a dialogue among those 5 phenomena, but they can all collapse into phatic communion or noise, so the book in the end can be considered has no content. That's why I call it phatic communion. Phatic communion is just grunting, like all these tremendous thoughts by all those thinkers, and yet it's reduced to just phatic communication under Android beam conditions.
Yeah.
And the copper has a bone dangling off the hook.
In the keyhole.
Yeah, in the keyhole. So, it's a very clever book. It's probably the last book, because every one of those guys are important in understanding ion. So, ion was what was coming, so my book was the most conscious extension or anticipation of ion. I didn't know it at the time, but in retrospect, it works.
But Scott, you were saying that was a Bucky Fuller book that did that?
No, Bucky produced a book that was similar in, it was basically a book with visual images and upside down text and various things like that had a similar effect on the reader as
you would just
McLuhan's
read it to the
book.
middle, and then you have to turn it upside down and read it
Yeah.
from the back.
See, and that's kind of glitchy. Like it's cool because it's not typical, so that's going to catch my interest. But I still think because like Bobby Fischer's book on chess, you turn it if you make different moves. And then
he also wrote Tetrascroll, which was with Anais Nin, I think that's her name. And the idea behind Tetrascroll is sort of a recounting of history, including biblical history and all that kind of stuff, as kind of technological development. And the basic idea behind that was that you can take a tetrahedron, which is at the center of the rhombic dodecahedron, and you can use it as a spool by spinning the midpoints of the two. It crosses the two vectors, or the two edges cross one another, and you take that as the central point, and you can spin it in such a way that you can create a 360-degree spool. So rather than the spool being like a cylinder, it's sort of a four-dimensional spool that you can wind up and then you can unroll like a scroll. So it's a different idea than the conventional like two-dimensional scroll. It's a four-dimensional scroll. Anyway, so he did have some unique ideas about publishing in the book and that kind of stuff. They're just not. They're not the same as McLuhan, and they kind of complement one another in some ways. So that's why yeah.
Sorry, but both of them wrote, what I've actually gotten to hold in my hands are usually just informative things.
Those two books were the art, or three books, were the art of Quentin Fuhrer and Jerome Angel. McLuhan had very little involvement, and Fuller probably had very little involvement. It was their art form.
Wow.
They're famous in book design. There's a book on them making those books. It came out a few years ago. So it was their art, and McLuhan, he was on a conference call. Nelson had recorded it in McLuhan's office, and so he's talking to these educators or whatever, and he says, what themes are you playing with today? And they go, oh, we're reading your book. We're discussing your book, The Medium and Massage. And he says, that's not a book. That's just a smattering of quotations. He put him down. Then he went on.
That's interesting.
None of them ever read his work. They didn't know what he was talking about. Fuck you.
Do you not think that most people think of that as his greatest book?
That's right. And he had nothing to do with it. And he didn't like the album. And he didn't like William Burroughs. He told me to avoid William Burroughs.
I don't know either.
Is evil.
Bill Burroughs is a fucking creep. He's a fucking Epstein. Ugh. But he did let cool people come hang out at his house, right? So.
Yep. Who? Burroughs or McLuhan?
Burroughs.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
I don't like Bill Burroughs. He's an Epstein.
And you know what his goal was? Was to create a CIA for gay people.
I'm not surprised. He was like the bane of my existence. I didn't like.
Burroughs was sort of the hero of that guy that just committed suicide that was on CNN.
Who? He committed suicide, did you say?
Yeah, the gourmet guy. I can't remember his name. I watched a few of his shows.
Bourdain.
Oh, yeah, Anthony
Bourdain,
yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
All the
That's
idiots,
right.
all the content worshippers, all the guys who hated McLuhan loved Burroughs.
Well, Bourdain was a heroin addict. I forgot about that.
All were. Debbie Harry, everybody. The Warhol gang. All jerks.
Man, fuck heroin. Like, how? Oh. Oh, well.
The only guy I admired who did heroin was Dean Latimer, who was a very interesting character who worked for Bowart and the East Village Other. And I reconnected with him in '96 in New York when Carol was making herbs in the lab. When he found that out, he said, "Wow, I gotta come and see this." He'd never seen how herbs were made, through tubes and funnels. And he was into marijuana and everything. But he told me that he could do heroin without losing control. So anybody who gets heroin addicted is emotionally immature and doesn't deserve it. But he could intelligently take heroin and not get swallowed up by it.
That's interesting. I probably could, but that's probably because I would never do it.
Beg your pardon?
I said I probably could, but for pain management somehow figure it, but it's not worth it to me. I will never do it.
Every night, at least once. Drop the phone.
Probably best.
Okay, Sarah, I dropped the phone, so I missed your last minute. What were you saying? You were saying heroin is a problem?
No, I said I could probably do heroin that way because I think so lowly of it. Like, I've had it given to me for pain management before, but I just can't deal with I don't know, the side effects, I guess.
Before before he told me that in '96, he used to work for years for High Times magazine. He did their news section, and he worked with Bill Weinberg. You might want to hear the interview with him I did at Dobstown.com recently, like last year. Weinberg and Latimer did the news stuff at High Times, but Latimer became homeless, and he saw Bill about 10 years ago on the street and didn't remember him. So Latimer may not have overcome his heroin pleasure.
Yeah, you know, and I should be really careful about saying that too, because I've had it administered in a hospital before, so clearly it wasn't heroin. You know, that's using the term liberally.
Burroughs probably could do it.
Yeah, I mean, he works out how to do it, and he tried to teach everybody how to do it. So yeah, he could. He did. But so could Crowley, apparently. And but what did Nietzsche, though? He probably just... What's the difference between opium? Is that...
None of it is the eye cell. So I was thinking about, I'm going through all of these pretty amazing changes from the living water, but I don't feel it. It's not dramatic, and that's what Ina said, and Michael Brown said it. He was an expert on using ayahuasca, but when he took the RNA drops, he didn't have the mind storm that ayahuasca caused. So he thought the calming, relaxing effect of RNA drops is a better thing than having your mind stirred up, which Ian says that's all psychedelics do, is just confuse the signaling of the brain. So you just think you're exploring ideas, but you're just misfiring on a lot of mental imagery. So the calming effect of the eye cell is the best way to mutate yourself, and I think that's what's happening with the living water.
Well, yeah, Ion talks about satiation. And when I learned that word, I started hearing it more from them. It really changed how I looked at things, because I make my restructure with 3 scoops, and I feel so satisfied. I mean, I've not had a problem stopping smoking. All these changes, things have just drastically been so much easier, but I'm getting 3 scoops and a glass of milk of this restructure. And I'm thinking, I don't even think about taking drops. I keep forgetting to take them. But I'm thinking it's got to be just the benefits of that. Feels like it's satiating all these other cravings that I think I have. Does that make sense?
No, that's a good point. Listen to this, Sarah. It's food that completes you. It's completion.
Yeah, I would say yes. Yes.
What is the food that you're eating, Sarah?
Your sperm.
The restructure.
We love your sperm. We've been sort of succubus
Yeah.
to Anyway, no, it's the RNA drops is the first food we offered in 2011.
I haven't tried that yet.
Yeah.
Well, get the restructure. That's what I'm talking about. It's like I use it like Ovaltine.
What's restructure? Is that another?
That's what I'm telling you about. It's a protein powder. It's like a powder. But think of it as like a malt for milk, and it is the most satiating thing I've ever had. It's pretty amazing.
Who Carolyn makes that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
We've got about 10 products, Scott.
Okay. Yeah, the only one I have is this Remag stuff that's I'm going to die without.
I hear that too, but I didn't.
Stuff we sell.
But the restructure has drops in it, so that might be why. Yeah, so that might be why I don't even think about the drops. I open the fridge. I just keep it made really in my big. Okay, when you order restructure, you get a shaker cup, and it has a little ball in it that blends it and mixes it with the liquid you choose. So I keep it filled and then I just add to it and keep it in my fridge like you would a half gallon of milk. And I drink it like James Dean. I open the fridge and I drink it like straight out of the bottle, put it back in.
Yeah, maybe I'll try that.
It's been great because I don't know, there's so many times in the day where I'll just open the fridge and look at what's in there, or like I used to make cigarettes and then go smoke them, or just little things like that, and I just have this settled, full feeling that I don't go searching around and looking at things and making up stuff to do. I feel like that's what it would feel like if you had a really good meal. You just feel settled. But that sense of well-being is greatly sustained, and it's got to be because of the restructure. That's the only thing that I've really changed.
All the products are variations of the eye cell.
So you wouldn't have to take. I take antidepressants, or I take an antidepressant,
right.
so I can get off that.
Yep.
Look, you need to do that with a doctor, though.
Hey, Sarah,
but I did.
Hey, Sarah, let me say this. It's important. Carolyn says you can stay on your medications and just take our stuff. It'll override the medication, and after a while, you'll say accidentally not take the medications, and you'll notice you still feel good. And then you realize you didn't need them. But we would never tell anybody to stop taking medications. As a matter of fact, Ion says that our eye cell makes Big Pharma's bullshit work better.
Yeah, my blood pressure medicine didn't work till I was completely saturated with magnesium. Then I didn't have the calcium deposit clots, the blood flowed easier, and ever since it has. So it's again with the satiation, the saturation. I feel like it's a little weird because I'm so involved with the show for me to be going on and on and on about the products, but I'm totally genuine. It really is like a miracle. And I did go off of 3 antidepressants. I was taking and other psychiatric medications too. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's a replacement. I just don't think they're necessary.
Yeah. Sarah's the poster child. She's a young person, but she's the poster child for overcoming and being abused by medication since she was a kid. And she came on here like 8 years ago. She talked ridiculous babble, and she didn't even know she was sounding that ridiculous. And it took her a year or so of exposure, and then maybe she got on the drops, and she started to become aware of herself and became aware of, Jesus, I'm quite ridiculous in the way I talk. But she couldn't control it, and so it took another few years before the products really started to affect her, and then she could go off her medications. But it was a many-year process because she was so deep into the rabbit hole of medical abuse.
Yeah, I mean, I lived with it my entire life. I didn't know a life with a day without it. Since I was an infant.
So a couple of years ago, everybody started praising Sarah. So holy shit, you actually could say sentences that make sense. They were honest to her about this effect that she had before. I mean, everybody on here would come and say the same thing as Sarah. They are very satisfied and satiated by the restructure.
Yeah, I have a sneaking feeling they would. And that's what I want to say again. It's like, but here I am really, really pro Bob, Carolyn, Ion, and the products because I'm part of this. But I just can't. I want to know how I could make it really obvious that I'm being genuine. It's for real.
Make it obvious to be what? What'd you say? Obvious to?
Make it obvious that I'm being genuine when I say this is for real. It's really that good.
You can say it as long as you don't talk over people. You tend to talk over people. like everybody's being quiet right now. They're going to letting you have your monologue. Normally, we'd be doing a give and take, and supposedly, ideally, every one of us stops as soon as the other person starts talking, and you come on, or someone comes on, and so that second person stops talking, and the third person talks until they hear somebody, and that person is responding to them, so you stop to hear what the response is. You're not too good at that.
Well, to be fair, is a 2-year-old very good at that? Is a 4-year-old very good at that? I mean, if we're going with this theory that you've laid out, I've only been able to speak freely for a year max.
Yeah. Right. What are the rest of them? These people, what do you say? Let's have some other people. Stop spying on Sarah. Stop being a voyeur.
Well, I mean, my job is really physical, and when I have my full complement of completement formulas, I can do, like, I can just push. I feel fatigue, but it doesn't bother me the same way that it does without them. Like, I'm like, okay, I feel symptoms of fatigue, and yet I can keep going. It's just fine. You know, and I've noticed, like, Bert and I were talking about, like, I exhale more than I inhale if I'm really exerting myself. It's like your whole, like, everything functions a little bit differently. It's subtle, but, and, like, I can climb. Ion asked, how's your stair climbing? And I'm like, well, it's okay. I mean, it's not as good as it was a year ago, but compared to everyone around me, I'm still kicking their ass. You know, even though, like, I'm in bad shape for me, I'm still kicking everybody else's ass. So I'm like, I'm okay, you know? And no, I could be better for me, but
let me respond to that, Madeline. That's what I first said years ago. Walking home from the beach, I'd be slightly fatigued, but the mind was relaxed, and it didn't care if there was a little subtle pain. You could override it and keep plowing away. Just keep walking, and you're indifferent to the slightly irritation of the pain. So it relaxes
it's
your mind.
Indifference, and
worrying.
You don't worry. And not only that, but what I notice is, like, if I notice my body, like, if a pain draws my attention to my body at all, what I really notice is, okay, there might be something there, but really, overall, I feel great. Like, all it does is make me notice how good I actually feel. It's really weird.
Right. No, you know what that is? I would say it's mind, body, spirit. So the eye cell stops the labyrinth of your mind, exaggerating the effects of the pain. It makes the body stronger and handle the pain. And then because you feel eternity, you know that no pain's going to do you in, so you're relaxed on the spirit level. So all three levels are affected. And it's a really delicious thing. It's like every time I feel pain, if I have my full dose of drops, it's actually wonderful. Like, I appreciate it. I'm like, thank you, pain, for making me notice how fantastic I actually feel. It's really weird.
You know,
when I'm walking home from the beach, I walk up a hill, and the people in the gated community are in the pool, and they can see me walking up. Now, I don't go in there and talk to them, but I heard when Carolyn meets these people, and then she says, they say, are you married? Yeah, that guy's my husband. See that guy walking up the hill? You'll say, that's my husband. And they'll go, yeah, I've noticed that guy. That fucking guy walks so fast. Now, I'm not walking fast in my mind. I'm just keeping a good, solid pace up the hill. But to the ordinary little people, I am fucking almost running up the hill.
No, it's like me at work. These little, like, 20 and 30-year-olds are lounging around, and I'm like, move, you little motherfuckers! And I'm 52, you know? And everything hurts, and I'm like, get on it!
Hey, though, Bob, do you get blisters anymore? Or nicks on your feet?
Where would the blisters be?
On your feet, you used to say that you did when you would go down to the beach. You'd have to wear something on your foot. The only reason I ask is
I have to wear. Okay, yes. So when I was body surfing, I wore socks because you step on little pebbles all the time. But now I don't do that. I swim long distance, so I'm not walking on the sea bottom in the sand. I'm not stubbing my toe, so I don't wear socks. So I forgot about the calluses or the scrapes. I haven't done that in 7 years.
that's why I brought it up, is because I don't get calluses anymore, and the calluses that I had for years are gone.
From walking?
No, from drawing and painting. My hand my fingers.
Hand.
Yeah, to the point where my fingers were bending weird, and I was having arthritis pain.
That's one of the Ion said the first effect of the drops and the eye cell is you get your skin gets stronger. I think that's what they said.
It's effing awesome. And it's like smooth.
Well, if your fingers are bending from drawing, that sounds like anxiety. Like you've eased up.
No, not. It's because I do it for like 12 hours at a time. It has to do that, or the skin would break.
Leon, yeah. Leon draws for Leon knows. Did your fingers twist from drawing, Leon? I hear you.
I can get Charlie horses after a while.
Yeah. Charlie horses, but does your body contort? Mine never did. I went to art school.
Hey, Leon.
Well, I didn't go to art school, so maybe I'm doing it wrong.
Did Leon say he gets Charlie horses?
I used to.
Yeah, magnesium will stop that. For one reason or other, a few months ago, I didn't have magnesium for a couple of days, and I was swimming, and I started to get Charlie horses. And then I knew it was just magnesium, so I went home and took some more, took some extra, caught up, and I never had the Charlie horses again. But as soon as I diminished the magnesium intake, they'd start to happen.
Let me take that back. Okay, is it Charlie horses when your muscles begin to tighten up and then in a manner distorts your body? Okay.
Drawing is like really small often. Like it's really small, tight movements, repetitive stuff. So you can get crampy, but I don't know, my fingers never got contorted permanently from it. Like that just feels like being really anxious about it.
I think you just don't understand. It's like a meditation, and I zone out, and I don't. I'm in a trance, just not thinking about doing it. I forget to eat sometimes. I forget all things.
Oh, I've been there.
And I go, all of a sudden, I got to go to the bathroom. I've had to go to the bathroom for 4 hours. It's like, it's not, and it doesn't happen anymore is my point. Since I have the products, that doesn't happen. I need my calluses. I needed them for the drawing, the amount of work that I do. It's like a person that plays guitar.
Well, I think it's about the amount of work you were putting into something that didn't require that amount of work. You know what I'm saying? Without the products, you put way more work than was necessary into it, more effort. And with the product, it's less effortful, so you're not putting as much stress on your body. Relaxing mind, body, and spirit, letting it flow more. Because calluses was all about pressure. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think you do. It's okay. I just don't think you understand what I'm saying.
When I was a kid, I got massive calluses from trying to please other people. There was this force behind everything I did, and as I got older and did my own thing, I eased up and I didn't have the same calluses. And I used to wonder, I'd look at it, I'm like, I'm still right and I still draw, and my calluses are smaller. What's up? And now that I'm even older still, I realize what that was. I had more pressure from everybody around me when I was younger. And when that eased up, the calluses went away.
Yeah, but if you row crew, you'd better have calluses on your hands, or you're going to have constant blisters.
Right.
So,
thank you.
So there are certain kind. Yeah.
To an extent, but mine were like.
If you work with paper, it absorbs the oils on your hands. It's just a.
I know, and everything dries out. I know. I still have that because of the work I do. But I know
I
that.
don't have that, and I do double the work now. Is my point.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder though if it's your skin or your attitude towards it, like whether it's an internal or an external pressure. That's what I'm saying.
No, it's my skin. My artwork was joy-driven, and I could have done that dead.
Well, I think joy-driven isn't pressury.
Right, and I was going to do that anyway. Now it's just nothing has to create problems. It's not. Yeah, that was going to happen. That was the way I survived, was to have that.
Well, I want to say this. Our products are like Soma in Brave New World. You know, the population is addicted to this pleasure thing and makes them forget everything. Our product does that, and when you go off it, you start to feel empty or depressed, and you quickly get back on our products. So
That's the damn truth.
Yeah, so you're addicted to our products, but it helps you. And Ion says it makes you healthier and live longer. So it's a good addiction. And Ion said way back at the beginning that one drop of the RNA drops was all you needed to ascend. And then people say, okay, I just need to buy one bottle and that's it. And I said, no, you will crave the drops. And you'll keep wanting
it. Man. I gave drops to my friend who went completely insane and now lives in a tent and has no job. And oh my God, Bob. I gave him a bunch of drops. I gave him all the products, and he is lost.
Right.
And
all he had to do was keep taking the product.
He said, they make me break out. I'm like, of course they do. You are polluted, and it's pushing that garbage out of you. He's like, I got it. I can't. I'm not doing it anymore. Like, okay,
see,
you lose.
That's a really good point. Exposure to all these unnatural things, it can be helped by adding something. You know, you can take something from outside your body that's good and put it in, and it can extract the exposure that built up. Because it was hard at first. That's why I don't like this idea that you're saying, Bob, that we're addicted. I feel like it's more like...
Well, it's the first addiction that's useful. It's food.
Okay, with no negative.
Humans know that they were once ascended because they have this hankering to be ascended again. They have all kinds of fantasies about it, and they try to feel good and constantly, but they always come down.
It's a craving for something that you actually need versus a craving for something that fills a space without actually doing you any good.
Without any continuity. It doesn't stay constant. You fall back. So our products put you on a new plane, and so you enjoy anything materialistically, and you feel good, and you're in shape, and you don't have to sleep as much. It's what all the Philosopher's Stone myths were looking for. See, that's the amazing thing, Scott.
You just better keep a job so that you can afford to buy it. Hey, Bob, is the living water going to be like comparable to the RNA drops? Like, what's the price range going to be? And I am so little for asking that.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be expensive.
Kind of similar to the drops.
Yeah, maybe less.
Maybe a little more. Maybe less.
Who organized Christmas?
So I live on a very fixed income on Social Security, and I can barely afford to get the remag. So I'm a little worried about the cost, but But one of the things I'm sort of considering is I do a lot of stuff that I should be paid for. I just can't figure out who to go to so they'll pay me to do it. I mean, I do a lot of.
I didn't get that. You're saying you do a lot of stuff that you pay for? Or what's that? What were you saying?
No, I do a lot of stuff that I should be earning money for, but I just do it. I just do it because I like to do it, and I don't like the distraction of going out and trying to find someone who will pay me to do it. So so I could be making more money. It's just that I sort of like don't want to bother with it.
If you get on the drops, it should give you the energy that you don't mind working many hours because you feel good, and then therefore you can get a job. You'll find something that people find. Well, you're better than anybody else. I'm hiring you just because of your stamina. And your
stamina, and a lot of times people will hire you because you're smiling. That alone, like literally, seriously, people will hire the smiling guy.
But if you have a fixed income, you have a fixed income. And what I've done is to just buy the products. Like right now, there's the Christmas in July special. You get the lotion and the bottle of Remag. And once you get to the point where you have that bottle of Remag that's unopened while you're working on a bottle, you'll find you can rotate and buy each of the products and slowly work them in. It took me maybe 4 years to get it together to where I have them all the time. But if you can just get that bottle right before you need another.
If you super duper appreciate the magnesium that you have, I swear to God, like I have never run out of Remag, because Ion said Remag is to save your life, and I've run out of all the other products, but I never ran out of Remag because I was like, I always made sure I had it, but also I never had to, like, I always had it. Because I always had it, I always had it. It's that weird thing where when you have it, you don't want it. And I don't know how to explain this. It's the weirdest thing, but it's true. Like, you will not run out of something that you really appreciate and that you have. Like, just get one bottle and appreciate the living shit out of it, and you're not ever going to run out before the next one somehow will come to you.
Well, I
actually had somebody send me one once. Like, that even happened. You're not going to need it when you have it.
The next idea I'm going to say is you got to get used to the fact you're going to live forever in the physical. So that means you can start doing stuff and consider yourself 22 years old and go out and get jobs or whatever that you can do, because you're going to be around for a long, long time. So you don't hedge your bets.
Yeah, you can lather, rinse, repeat to your heart's desire, and that you can't fuck it up. You can't get it wrong, and you'll never get it done.
Yeah.
That's something Ion hasn't said in a while, that they used to say a lot, and that's actually a really big one.
Yeah.
What about injury? I mean, if you have a replenishable body and stuff like that, but you can still have a car wreck or something, or a meteor fall on you or something like that, so you can still get killed, right?
I mean, Ion has said you can have your head cut off and roll down a ditch off the freeway, and somebody will show up, run down the hill, pick up your head, and reattach it. Like, if you are actually planning on staying here, there is nothing that can stop you from staying here. Nothing. Literally nothing.
I brought up that point, Scott, and they said, well, you might get in an accident and really damage yourself, but you will not die from it, no matter how bad it is.
I don't really like that idea,
but from the beginning, Scott, Carol and I can go to San Francisco, and there could be that massive earthquake. We won't even notice it, because we're on another frequency. And Ian says that we're not on Maui. We're on another place, and he was talking to us about it today.
Well, I noticed Well, one of the things I noticed was that, I put some of that stuff on my heels because I had this excruciating pain in my heels from walking, a fair amount and stuff. And so Ion said to put the stuff on your heels for a couple of days and then go walk 10 miles, and I did that. And then I kind of figured, well, my heels are healed now, so I don't have to put the stuff on my heels anymore, and the damn pain came back. So
you got that plantar fasciitis, they said, right?
I got what?
Isn't that what Ian told you, that you had plantar fasciitis?
No, I don't think it's that. I think it's closer to something like heel spurs or something. It's just in my heels.
Fracture in your heel or something.
Okay, so
or a bruise or something.
Something came back.
Those are calcium
because you were doing
deposits.
The magnesium. Something came back.
Yeah, so I thought it was healed because I wasn't hurting that much anymore, and I stopped putting it on my heels, and the pain kind of came back. So
right, so put the
you got to melt that. You got to melt all that calcium off there. You got to melt the calcium off there because it's causing nerve pain.
Oh yeah, okay.
Hey, Ian said it took a long time for you to deteriorate, so it's going to maybe take a long time to regain your health. So you just use the products for a long time, a year or something, and everything will be dealt with in that long stretch. And you don't stop.
And also read Carolyn's thing, when magnesium makes it worse.
Yeah.
Because it will bring some old shit to the surface sometimes.
Unresolved stuff.
It'll push, it'll bring old crap up to the surface before it flushes it out, so you'll feel worse for some time before you feel better, but it's normal.
Well, I did that. That sort of happened too, because I got this really intense pain in the back of my leg and in my calves and stuff like that, and it actually looked like a bruise, and it was quite painful, and but I looked at it and I figured, well, this will probably go away. I put some of the stuff on my calf and on the backs of my legs, and it's like it lasted about a day, and then it was gone. So I figured
that's how it goes.
It could just be me completely talking out my ass because I'm not a doctor, but if you had chunks of anything stuck in your foot, from internal bleeding, you have these spurs or whatever, you start melding them with the magnesium, they're going to have to run through your lymphatic system and be eliminated as urine or feces, or you're going to have to vomit them, or you're going to have stones passed. So I would think the bruising is probably a natural repercussion of it not being broken up enough, which would go with your idea that it's coming back or it's hurting again. It's just not.
Well, I was thinking in terms of the notion of clearing. Like if you have something that's stuck, then you first move it to another place before you move it out.
Yeah. Do you think that might be why you got bruises, though, is what I was asking.
Whatever the stuff was, or the pain, or the fixation, or whatever it was that was in my heel, first had to move to a different place in my body, which made that pain increase, and then it just moved out.
Yeah,
so that's sort of what has happened now. Is it just, I don't know, moved into a tree trunk or something like that. I mean, it just moved away.
Yeah, Scott, Bert was a football player and had a ton of pretty intense injuries, and he went through a ton of that. And Ginny had a crazy ankle injury where she had metal plates in her ankle and stuff. People have gone through really intense shit, but everyone ends up being whole. Don't worry about it. It's really cool. Let it happen.
Yeah. With the antidepressants too, Carolyn talks about how when you take an antidepressant, one of the first things that it does for you in the first month is push all the magnesium to where it needs to go. So you're depleting your magnesium, but the good effects that you like that you're getting, that you feel like you want to keep taking an antidepressant, may very well be a need for that magnesium. Because when you first gave it to yourself, it released a bunch, you know. But I still am really, really anti going off them without telling a doctor, because I had bad experiences. But I do think it's definitely a reasonable thing to explore. Is that why?
Well, I am a doctor, so I can just tell myself. I mean, I'm not a medical doctor, but I'm a doctor. So
wonderful. That's pretty good.
They're saying that Trump's spokeswoman, new press spokeswoman, has disappeared and is not saying much, not answering reporters' questions. So they have a photo of her, and she looks insane. Now, every one of those people that have left Trump probably went nuts because they're dealing with the tech body, the angels, and the non-physical, and the RNA drops in one guy. He probably is driving them nuts.
Yeah. It's really interesting to watch what's happening with the people around him.
Yeah.
A lot of them are resigning and then becoming cooperating witnesses. But yes, what you're saying is easier for me to appreciate.
Yeah. They don't know what to do with themselves when they leave, and they say, well, I guess I've got some data, I'll write a book. Like the black lady that wrote a book, that didn't go anywhere. They're not going to
Omarosa? Yeah. Yeah. No, it's absurd. It's God, it's so wild.
Yeah, you see 20 years when people are forced to listen to the archives of these shows 20 years earlier, they're going to go, they'll be like Madeline, oh my fuck, oh my God, you know, they'll just realize what they
I've been realizing recently, you know, Ion has said over and over for all these years, all is recorded, and they have said, especially like during the revelations, like people, we're talking to the people who are going to be listening to this later.
Yeah.
Remember that, Bob?
Yeah.
And
my
it
gallbladder
wasn't for
my heart. Come on.
It wasn't us. It's the people who are listening now and who are going to be listening later. Even I'm realizing. Something hit me the other day, and I was like, holy shit! I remembered hearing Ion's voice saying, "This is for the people listening later." And at the time, I thought they were talking about me. And now I'm realizing, no. They really are talking about the people who are going to be listening a year from now or 5 years from now or whenever it is they finally decide, I want to know what's happening.
Yeah, that's what, in Revelation, the 23rd chapter, I'm going, this is directly, like, Ion's doing these little side note things that don't seem to have much to do with the conversation. It directly applies to the only medical issues I have left. The couple things I never thought about.
Right.
Like, it's just crazy. I refuse to believe that applies to everyone, especially because on the recording, people are like, why are you talking about that? Right, that doesn't fit.
Yeah,
so it's pretty...
Yeah, no, it's very subjective. And I was going to say that Carol was saying to JW and I that, well, Ion said, JW said that there's a lot of people in other worlds buying our products, maybe more than here. And Carol said, yeah, I've noticed that in our statistics. Our profits don't match what's sold, something like that. I don't know how it works out. But it agreed with a mystery in their accounting that there are many people buying the products from other worlds and putting money in our bank that we didn't know where it came from because not that many were sold on the books.
I wonder if it's us. It's me, you know.
Well,
in the new civilization.
You're in another world?
Well, yeah, Bob.
Oh, okay. Right. People like Madeline. The tribe
in
of
the
Madeline.
the new civilization that is sort of in another dimension being created here, but not quite here, but it's real somewhere else, and
right.
There is a dimension where everyone is buying Bob's products because, son of a bitch, what else is there, right? And so...
Right.
And I'm sure I'm there.
That the ion revolution is happening in all worlds. Think of that.
Oh my
You know
goodness.
what, Bob?
Bob,
7 years
I can't
ago.
even explain to you what it's like inside my head the last week since Saturday's show. I mean, there's the whole, since I first heard you and first started listening to the show 10 years ago or whatever, that's one thing. But then what happened last weekend was it was a whole other level. I can't even tell you what happened to me. It's crazy. You can ask
Did you do it by yourself?
Jean.
Did anybody witness you?
No, yes, people witnessed because I have been constantly texting. I have a group chat going with Susanna, Sarah, and Jean, and they have witnessed me typing constantly to them. I'm like, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. I have been sending them texts all day and all night, and I'm sure they've muted it by now, and they don't even know what I've been saying. But I'm...
Are you talking about Sarah Courtney?
Not necessarily, Madeline. It's been like one revelation after another this week. We're just not keeping up, I don't think. Between listening to everything else and I was driving all day. But
my head has not stopped spinning. That show was so epic.
Yeah.
And then when I listened to it a second time...
you're typing to Jean?
We have a group chat going, me, Jean, Sarah Courtney, and Susanna.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So they have been hearing every, thought that comes to my mind. I type it out, and I'm like, what do you think? And they ignore me. But that doesn't, I keep going.
Not always. You get a bite here and there.
I do. But I can't help it. 'Cause I just, it's like if I can just put it together, I'm sort of, I would like a response because I kind of want to know, am I insane? I don't know. But but then I put a lot of it out on chat today, and you said, no, you're pretty close, Maddie. And I'm like, all right, I knew it. Great. That doesn't...
Natalie, nobody that was insane ever said to themselves or anyone else, am I insane? People don't have the wherewithal.
No, I know that, but it's pretty crazy. And hey, Bob, what do you think of Leon saying there's a fourth Jesus?
Oh, that's cute. That's cute.
I don't know if it's cute, Bob. I think it's sort of relevant.
Well, maybe there are 100 Jesus.
Did you say it's cute?
There probably are 100 Jesuses. There probably are. And you're the one.
It's cute,
you're the
Madeline.
one that.
I would say that Jean and the rest, Sarah, you think ideas because you went to art school, which is about ideas. So you have
I did not go to art school.
What?
Well, then we're not.
I got kicked out of my house when I was in high school, and I barely got out of high school.
Okay, I'm talking to Madeline. You went to art school, Madeline, and they talk ideas. I think that you got a lot of ideas in your head, and now if you get a click, a pattern, you have a lot of things to say about the ideas you heard about that other people don't have the same amount of data in their heads.
Yeah, I have a lot of ideas about the gods, and the stars, and as above, so below.
Well, she's also gone the deepest. You've also gone the deepest with Q, and now you're having these revelations with the connections of Q and ions words.
Q is like drugs. It's a drug. It is. It's exactly, it's just another mind fuck kind of thing. And you make patterns out of it. I don't know. Although I'm really glad I asked you about the little book, Bob, and the significance or the archetype of the blank page. It's just all confirmation that I'm in Bob's hologram, and I feel entitled to say, don't fuck it up, Bob. But I know he didn't. Because there's so much joy in it, and laughter, and like it's like when I've been in the deepest throes of, oh God, I'm forget it. I'm gonna shut up.
Well, we don't. A new person like Scott is listening to this. He might think it sounds like a cult, but we're not a cult.
It does. I know, and I'm trying. Yeah.
We'll clear that up.
I think
Bob
Scott.
has
I
cult
think Scott
following,
is getting
but
it
he's not
though.
involved
I
with
mean.
Oh, I just thought of something, Madeline. The way you
It's
were
an
talking
anti-cult.
about, many hours ago, that it all comes out of me. Ion likes to make a cult, but I prevent it.
Yeah. No, it comes back to the end of it. It comes back to us.
Yeah.
Which is what Q does. If you really, it's so funny. Like, I don't understand these people who think they're like, Trump is the savior. I'm like, oh my God, you're in trouble. That's not what that is. It's amazing, but it's not what you think it is.
And Bob, I don't think a cult requires a person to really dedicate themselves for years in order to, overlay what the hell you're talking about. It covers
right.
such
No,
a
it's
myriad.
usually really simplistic. Yeah.
That you really have to, you have to use all of your capabilities intellectually, to absorb it. And that's not a cult. Yes, a cult is something that's attracts you and then just keeps you there very simplistically. It might be.
Yeah, cults typically shut down your faculties, right?
You have the dynamism of a cult leader, but for very different reasons. There's
you expand people.
It's simply that
there's
he has
substance.
a cult.
There's tremendous substance behind everything you and Carolyn do. That is.
Well,
yeah.
It's like trying to solve the three-body problem. There's no permanent solution to it. I mean, you can make that. That was the idea behind Zix and Lou's book. Is you can sometimes predict some of the consequences. Yeah.
You're muffled. Are you really close to your mic?
Okay, I'll get closer.
Sounds pretty clear to me.
Oh, maybe it's me then. Okay, it might just be me. Sorry.
No, he got clear, moving closer to the mic.
Yeah, I just sat up and moved a little closer.
Oh, that's way better.
Okay, so the idea behind the three-body problem is that with a two-body problem, you can predict, because they're cycling one another, you can predict the eventual shape or pattern that's going to evolve, no matter how long it goes into the future. But with a three-body problem, there are a few solutions depending upon whether the pattern ever gets into a particular orientation or not. But there's no general solution to be able to predict, what the next cycle is going to do or anything like that. That was the whole point of these aliens were living in a world which had three suns, and they were under a constant threat that one of the suns was either going to spin off into nowhere and then they would freeze, or it was going to suddenly crash into them or something like that. And they went
Isn't
through
that
these
like the gods, though?
I don't know what he was trying to get at, but he was it was basically he said that they developed this pattern where periodically the suns would boil off all the earth, all the water on the earth, and so they would have to figure out. They evolved in a way that allowed them to dehydrate completely, and then hibernate for long periods of time, like centuries and millennia. So they could. These beings that were, I forget what the name of them was, but they were.
Who is telling this? Who is talking about this?
It's from a book.
It's a trilogy called the Three Body Problem. It's by a Chinese author, a Chinese science fiction author named Zixin Liu. It's really good books, but they're a story. But he's also an engineer, and there is this thing called the Three Body Problem that engineers can't solve because there is no mathematical solution to it, no general solution. There are specific solutions to different parts if it gets into a certain configuration. Then you can make some predictions, but there's no general solution to the problem, so there's no like Copernican solution to predict what's going to happen with the phenomenon, or a general E equals MC squared kind of solution to it. It just doesn't exist. So it's one of those things that's a perpetual problem or a perpetual dynamic.
I kind of want to interject here because I'm sorry, Scott, but Bob will probably shoot this down immediately, and you can carry on. But I've been wondering if the sun is the Ark of the Covenant, if that's where our power is, because Ion has said that when we're ascended, there is no sun, and you create your own light. So I'm going to shut up and let everybody talk about that, and that's it.
Well, I know that. I see a light inside, and all I have to do is close my eyes, and it will begin to come up in about 5 seconds or something like that. So I know that we were created with light inside, and it's always been there, and it's just a matter of being able to find it consistently with your attention so you can return to it and stuff like that. What I don't know is how much of it there is really, because there's also a periodic covering. There's a cover-up, so you watch it for a while and then it will. And then the covering will.
I think Ion is saying that the covering, like that cyclical thing, is not going to happen anymore. So if you can find it now, you're going to find it you'll have it. Period.
Oh, cool.
This time. Yeah, they're saying the cyclical thing is ending. This is the last cycle. So if you find your light now, you've got it.
Cool.
Right, Bob? He went to sleep.
Hello?
Great. Well, I guess go on, Scott.
Yeah, I don't know. That's all I wanted to say. That's a real cool thing if that's true. So.
What were you guys talking about?
Well,
shit, Bob, come on.
Your senility, I guess.
What, did I say something?
You didn't say
no, but we're like having deep thoughts, and without your guidance, it's not cool. You're the dark soul, the last authority figure, and we're looking to you for clarity.
So you were laughing because I wasn't saying anything?
Yeah! You're leaving us in the lurch.
Well, that's not a cult. I ain't the last authority figure. There ain't no more. I'm the first authority figure.
Oh, boy. The dark soul.
I just got a good memory.
So, Bob, I'm toying with the idea that the sun is the Ark of the Covenant. That's where that is our power. We put it into the sun. I mean, it's the most powerful thing.
Yeah.
And
so if it's inside you, what does that mean?
So where were we? Like, how do I orient myself now to Bob's question, Scott? Help. What were we just talking about?
Well, I don't know. I was talking about this light that everyone has. I call it within, but it's not really inside your guts or anything like that. It's just that it reveals itself, and then there's a covering that comes in where you avert your attention away from it and stuff like that, because otherwise it would get too intense. And the Hindus say that it's as bright as 10,000 suns. So it's obviously maybe so. But I could see if you are the light, then you could take it. What you can't take is like believing that it's separate from you and shining on you. That makes it too much. So.
But it is too much for a little man. That Ion's whole thing is, and the sun is too much, and it seems to respond to what humanity is thinking. Global warming, global cooling. It seems like the sun and us are intimate. Maybe even the same thing. The sun is responding to us. So maybe the Ark of the Covenant is the sun. It is our power.
Or it's a piece of the light that's sort of shining through a hole. It's like making a 720-degree
Well, and then there's the whole thing where the Cabal worships the sun. These gods that Ion confirmed are real. I don't know. There's something.
Well, ask Ian about it, Madeline. Don't wander in your own head about it. Just ask Ian next show.
Okay.
All right, I gotta go. Got meetings tomorrow. Department of Homeland Security. Still trying to figure out if they're going to accept this as a terrorist.
What about? Aren't we going to have the explorations thing tomorrow? Okay.
Yeah,
I'm envisioning Bob showing up to meet DHS in his blinged out Michael Jackson suit. Listen, motherfuckers.
What'd you say about Michael Jackson?
Well, you said your suit is covered in bling, so it makes me think of you're wearing some weird Michael Jackson suit, and you're gonna be like, "Listen, motherfuckers."
Yeah, maybe you'll see a picture of it someday.
I would love to.
Okay, talk to you guys later.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm going
Much
too.
appreciation. Much appreciation.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Are we? Bob's leaving. That doesn't mean we have to.
I have to too. I gotta eat something.
Okay, well, you can chew on the phone. Scott, it's really fun hearing you coming into Iandom. We've all been there. It's neat. Cool.
Great.
You sound like you're having fun, so.
Well, so far it's pretty cool, yeah.
It is cool. Yeah, it's weird. It's definitely different. Yeah. All right. Well, you don't have to hang out, but it's been fun hearing you morph into it.
Yeah, I feel like I've been like trotting along, and I sort of hit the ground running in a way.
You did. That's what I actually said. I was like, holy shit, he was resisting, and then now he's on a tear. That's what I said to some other Ionauts who were talking about you. They're like, did you see this whole interaction on Facebook? And I was like, yeah, it's amazing.
Well, one of the things that happened is that when Bob was telling me about this stuff, he was saying that Ion said that he was a dodecahedron with all these angles and stuff like that. No, but I said, yeah, but there are two kinds of dodecahedrons, and which kind does he say? And Bob mistakenly told me that Ion said that he was a pentagonal dodecahedron, and that didn't seem like it made sense, you know. And so that when I got into that first,
it's incredible what angles people come in on, though. Like, I have no idea what you're even fucking talking about, but that's the angle you came in on, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was basically the dark soul misrepresented what Ion had said, and I had to come in and figure it out for myself.
And figure it out.
Ion was saying something completely different.
Oh my goodness. That is something. Wow. Because of the misrepresentations, that's how you got hooked. Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. See, that's the thing. People are like, Bob got this wrong. Bob got that wrong. I'm like, he doesn't get anything wrong. It's all ESP, and people get mad. They're like, he's not letting me talk. And I'm like, don't worry about it. Like, that's you're supposed to listen right now or whatever. You'll get to talk when it's... Bob's ESP is to be revered in my book. Over the years of listening to him, if you don't get to talk for a while, it's for a reason. And if you do for a while, it's also for a reason. It's really interesting. I don't want to sound like I totally understand what's going on because I don't, but I keep seeing shit work out. Like, I don't know why things happen the way they do, but they keep working out in this beautiful way. It just keeps unfolding and unfolding. It's amazing.
Well, there's this visual aspect when I said I've been meditating on light for about 45 years.
Meditating on what? Wait, meditating on what?
Light.
Oh, on life. Okay.
No, light. L-I-G-H-T.
Oh, light. Oh, light.
Yeah, the internal light.
Because you were a light artist.
Well, yeah.
Is that why?
I noticed it for years. What I would do was just sit there and witness it, you know, and it would have no connection whatever with my body or with anything that was going on. In fact, the whole idea was it was sort of spiritual and disconnected from me and all this kind of stuff. And I would watch it, and I would eventually get bored with it because it'd be like, well, I'm watching paint dry, and the paint and the drying patterns are kind of halfway interesting, but it gets boring after a while, you know. And so, but since about 1990 or something like that, I seemed to get more involved with the light. It would involve me in various things like playing with me or like hiding from me and then drawing me out and doing all these tricks and things like that. And the thing is that I think the light is it's partially my perception of the resonant interval. It reminds me of the resonant interval, but because it's kind of a tactility and
it is.
And it's been teaching me all along this way to be that I tried to apply to the world through the intellect. I mean, that's the reason that I went and got a PhD and all this kind of stuff, because I wanted to understand philosophy and all of that. And eventually I couldn't get anywhere in academia, so I started investigating stuff on my own, which included Rene Girard and Charles Sanders Peirce and eventually McLuhan and stuff like that, you know. And as I got into this other stuff, I mean, the light begins to interact with me so that I'm involved with it, you know. But it still hides from me a lot. It's mostly dark, but it's a shining dark, you know. It's
a
like,
shining dark. Oh my God, that's beautiful.
Yeah, well, that's something that comes from, that's not my original thing. That's someone else has described that.
Well, I've never heard that before, and I love it.
Yeah. It comes, the guy that talks about DMT all the time, I can't remember his name right now, but that's where it comes from.
McKenna.
Yeah, McKenna.
McKenna? Oh my God, I listened to him. I have heard thousands of hours of McKenna, and I never heard him say The Shining Dark.
Maybe
but
I
anyway,
yeah,
lighting is my business and my hobby and my fascination, like, in life. And it's very personal. Like, it's really visceral, part of my experience as a being. Like, light is not on or off, or, you know, it's attention, it's awareness, it's I don't know. You know what I'm saying, right? It's awareness, really. And then all the states of awareness that there are, that flickering in between, on and off, on the periphery sort of stuff that happens.
Sometimes these paisley patterns are different patterns that you see, and lately there's also one where it does all this shaking. It just like it shakes like a fluid or something, you know,
yeah.
and then that'll stop. And then I don't know, but I can define it, but I can also experience it, you know, and sort of.
Yeah, the experience.
I guess eventually we're going to be in it all the time. So what we see in the manifestations, where I mean, you can create within it. I mean, you can create realities
Well, absolutely. I mean, I do theatrical lighting, and what you shine the light on exists, and what you don't doesn't. Like, it's in the shadows. It's not seen. It's so, and then you can actually create things of light that don't exist on a 2 or 3D plane, but you can create things out of light with fog and light and whatever. Like, it. Yeah, if you play around with light and strata of the third dimension, you realize that there's all kinds of possibilities.
Yeah. Beyond imagination. It's
Beyond.
Like you never would have imagined.
Oh my God, absolutely. I create stuff I never thought, I never imagined. I create things that I didn't intend all the time. Me and my friends do. I do by myself, me and my friends create, and you know, we're constantly, that's like what's so fun about playing with light, is that we sort of try to do stuff I mean, I don't want to say willy-nilly, like we try to do stuff and then we create something accidentally and then you try to replicate it.
Oh yeah, that doesn't work very well.
But no, it doesn't. But I think that's the whole lather, rinse, repeat thing that Ion keeps talking about. I really. It's weird. I don't know how to. It's like I want to put some kind of value on doing light shows. I feel like it's going to be cut off because of EMPs or whatever, any other kind of reasons. But it is the thing that makes my heart sing. But then again, I don't know, like, what else? I don't know what else to do.
Well, if they, I mean, when I was a kid, I used to do this thing where I take the palms of my hands and I press on my eyes, you know. And after a while, you start seeing light patterns there that they call phosphate.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But if you start, I don't know. This is a little bit.
Well, I don't know about you, but nowadays I don't even have to press on my eyes anymore to see that. All I have to do is shut my eyes and I see it.
Yeah,
I don't have to press on them.
Yeah.
Isn't that's interesting? No? Like we used to, when we were kids, we had to press on our eyes to see these patterns, and now all we have to do is close our eyes and see them.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Yeah, things are opening up.
I was sort of expecting Jean to jump in there because I know she sees stuff with her eyes closed and she's not chiming in, so I'm not sure why. But anyway.
She said good night, so I think Jean's gone.
Oh, she's gone. It's just me and you.
Yeah. And I should probably go too. Because
all right.
But anyway, it's nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you too. It's been really fun hearing you the last few weeks. I'm glad you're on board. It's fun. Good times.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. Cheers.
I'm learning a lot. Bye.
You guys have a good one.
Okay. Who's that? Leon? That sounds like Leon.
No. Yeah.
Are you ready to hang up?
Back over the, I believe so. I just want to make sure I go back over my research of the Sony, how they play with light and depth and composition.
Who plays with light and depth? Wait. What? If you want to talk about light and depth and composition, I'm down.
No, it's like if you notice with the well, we always notice that with artists and so forth, but with Sony PlayStation and Xbox, those two machines has been really geared in the sense of applying that formula onto the audience. Especially
right.
with TV.
Yeah.
Even if you have a low depth television, if you have a pretty modern video game console, it really kind of gives you that almost that. I mean, they even
immersive.
Give you shadow of your pores, of like human pores.
Yeah.
So it's that, it's like you said, creating a world within medium, with a certain
Yep.
medium. But that's just on that.
But like what I noticed, it's all about directing your attention. Like light, I mean, for me, light is a metaphor for your attention. And it is, in fact, your attention. It is what your attention is. Your awareness is your light.
Yeah, and I think sometimes also as an artist, you got to realize that people usually like to look into the dark more versus somebody like to look into the light. So that how do you create within the dark, also into the light? So therefore, you can keep them both busy. Whoever's like in your show or your world that you create. Because even in shadow, you can show shadow within shadows, and in light, you can show light within light.
Yeah. My psychedelic light show, because I'm very content oriented, like the stuff that I do is content oriented, but I work with people who do abstract, just light stuff. We work together. My shit got way deeper when I started showing the shadows. Like, they were doing the light, and I was showing shadow stuff. And when I started doing that, we got a lot more popular.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the depth. It's the richness.
Yeah.
But I had a hard time with it at first because I was like, okay, like I'm doing this stuff for people who are opened up on psychedelics, and I don't want to introduce, like, I didn't want to introduce darkness to that opened up space, but it turns out like that's where the juice is, right? And then it was my own journey. It was like that's where there's beauty in the darkness. There's like a lot of power there. This side of us that we don't want to look at. Why don't we want to look at it? Because it's our power.
Well, yeah, I still see power in what is it? I don't know, in light. I mean, it's hard to say, but okay, what do you mean by the sense of like psychedelic stuff?
It is both, but so when I started doing this, humanity, like, this was 20 years ago. And we were scared of our power still, a lot more then than we are now. I mean, we still are. For fuck's sake, look around you. People are terrified of their own power. They don't want to acknowledge it. They give it away every chance they can. But it was me coming into my own power and being like, look, there's this stuff that I think of as dark that's powerful. I don't know. I'm like, look, it's beautiful. I don't know how to explain it and describe it. It's funny, though, because people, like, I started out with I don't even want to talk about it because it seems stupid.
Well, no, it's just like because it's like with the friends ordeal, because like when you have them that are. So are they open to the dark side, or were they not?
So what I started out with, like the first time I really went into the dark stuff was I got really interested in Kali.
Okay.
And so I created a series of slides that went together, and it was about Kali, and it had a skull and these flames and all this shit, and it went together in this really beautiful but really freaky group of slides. And I remember, like, I actually printed out cards that explained, okay, Kali's not that freaky, like, it's really cool, and people, like, 20 years later came up to me and showed me, they're like, I still have this thing that you passed out 20 years ago. And they're like, it was so okay. And I'm like, oh my God, because I thought it was not okay. I'm like, this is terrifying. Because the imagery is kind of terrifying, but I thought it was also really beautiful. But then I got into, like, it's like what we consider the stuff that scares us is kind of our own power scares us, right? That's fundamentally the deal. Our own power. We're terrified of our own power. Ian kept saying that. Like, you're so scared of it that you put it in a box, you hid it, you know, like. And I was starting to realize that it's okay to have this power and to embrace it. And I can't, like, the first time, like, when I created, like, 3 layers of images that were supposed to go together, and I worked on all 3 of them, but the first time I saw them all together, I cried. I fell apart. I fucking cried. I'm like, I can't believe I'm gonna, like, unleash this on people. But people loved it. And, you know, then I loved it, and from there on, like, my show just got way more badass.
Conference will automatically end in 10 minutes.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I'm still here, so we have 10 minutes. I don't know, like, I don't think I'm explaining this to you, but the shining a light in the darkness, like, the darkness is stuff we hide from ourselves, which is a part of us, which is part of our wholeness, which is part of our power, right? Like, we shouldn't hide anything from ourselves.
So what is this hiding? What is this darkness? That's what I'm, like, curious of. Because even I'm kind of like, what is this darkness?
Oh, things that scare us. Shit, okay, I'm not going to do a good... like fierceness, I guess. Kick-assery. Like, so where I was coming from was the San Francisco, oh, peace and love and flowers. This is all these flowers and bunnies and shit, right? And I'm like, yeah, but that's, you know, I got bored with that. I'm like, there's nothing, there's no substance, there's no depth to this. What else is there? And that's when I got into the whole Kali shit. And then I was like, that gave me... That's how I got into, like, I went all... oh my God, she's like this goddess who beheads she's like this kind of chaos goddess. She's a consort to Shiva, the creator, and Kali is the destroyer. It's like yin yang kind of thing. She's a mother, but she's also a destroyer. She eats dead people, kind of. I don't know, like she's fierce as she's. Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like I'm so like I'm trying to remember where I was. Like at this point, I'm like totally cool with it, but then it was new for me, and I was like, I'm talking a long time ago when.
Well, I don't ever see that scary. It's more in a sense of carrying that responsibility. It's that thing that like people do it naturally. They just don't want to carry the responsibility. You know, it's I did it, and I'll keep the responsibility instead of I'll do it, but I'm gonna pay someone else to do it, or I will hire someone else. You have a third man or a third party, in which therefore, like, that's where I will come in and say, oh yeah, people will use God in the sense that I fucked their lives up, so I ask God to forgive me. So that's their component.
Yeah.
It's not scary. It's more in the sense of I don't want to clean that up. You know, yeah, I ate there, but I clean that.
Right? No, yeah. See, you're right, and I get all of that now. But I'm talking about me 20 years ago when I started out doing this, and what it was like to start embracing this.
That's what
and where I'm at now, like it's super tame. It's so tame now. But yeah. But it's like you can't have. I don't think beauty exists without some darkness under it. Like you can't have. There isn't any beauty without contrast. You've got to have contrast. Like everything has to have an edge, or else it's all just a flat wave, right? And that's the first time, because I was doing like fucking bunnies and flowers, and it was I was just trying to make this peaceful, serene environment for people to trip in, but it was like so empty after a minute. I'm like, this is garbage. Like, it needs some edge. And so I went from 0 to 60.
So, okay. All right, now, explain this bunny thing to us. What is this? Is this more in the sense of, like, the atmosphere or the attitude of it?
Oh, my God. It was
more like Disney.
It was just being real. It was. I stopped sugarcoating stuff and got real. Is all. And what's real is really beautiful. Like what we call contrast is super fucking gorgeous. It's delicious because the resolution. Yeah. That's all.
This is a rich story.
Well, and it's like I stopped I stopped pushing against stuff as much at the same time and let things flow. I don't know. I know my light show is people have come up to me and said that it changed their lives, but I know maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I know it changed mine. I've explored my own self and my own life through my art.
Well, that's natural. I mean, that's going to come through. You express yourself through your work. And if they can link to it, like, oh yeah, I can, what you would say, able to grasp it, and then therefore they can, I would say that is life changing for certain people. Because like I didn't know you could communicate in that manner or that form of communication.
Well, and the thing is, I'll never know. I will never know what they saw in it because they're in their world.
Yeah.
I don't know what I said to them. I said something, and it impacted them. Fantastic. I will never know what that was. I can't. That's the nature of things. That's the nature of people in their own universes. There is no real connection. But I can know what I said to myself. I can know that that day that I put that Kali shit together and saw it, layered for the first time, something broke in me, which was this fear of my own power. And that's when I started, I saw the beauty of it, and I was like, okay, I think if it's like, if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have been receptive to Ion. But because I did, because I went through that transformation through my own art, then when Ion came along and said what they did, I was like, okay, maybe, sure, I'll entertain this. The solipsism thing. People think that's a bad word. It's not. It's just the truth. It's the truth. It's the way shit is.
What is solipsism, or a definition of? What is your definition of it? I can look it up.
It's basically it's being alone in your own universe. You are the center of your universe. And people think it means selfishness and self-centeredness, but it's just fucking the fact of the way shit is.
Oh, that's weird.
It's not,
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because one of those things, like, you appreciate that kind of individual because it's like they're the human sacrifice of society, and so their work translates to others naturally because you inspire others to do work, to do their own amazing work, and which other people, something to do or something to, be part of. It's always keeping that the ripple effect going one way or another. But solitude, I don't know. It's weird because they like it at the same time they hate it. It's just a thin line.
Well, people can be challenged. The idea that you're the center of your own universe is super challenging to some people. They want to think that they're on some tier where they're, I don't know, feeding off somebody else. I don't know.
Well, because when I see people really in that sense of, like, if you would say 101% solipsism, they're more like a Renaissance person. So everything they do is quite independent. Now, if they put you in by the loose role, it's good and stuff, or to experience. But I started noticing those kind of individuals. If I take it to my definition of like someone being, in their own universe, is that they not only they have like a team, they have, I would say, a capacity to communicate what their whole vision is. I would say.
Conference will automatically end in 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. You got 30 seconds to add something to it? Hello?